the Almighty Pokémon Master. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1, Aftermath. Changning First People's Hospital. Father, don't let it explode, no. With a loud shout, Zhang Xingyun sat up suddenly and was awakened by sweat. He found himself in a ward and could still smell a faint smell of disinfectant. The pain in his body spread to his brain, and at this time, the blood-stained bandage on his body reminded him of his current physical condition. Click, the door of the ward was opened, and a pretty nurse walked in. "What's wrong with you, sir? Are you feeling uncomfortable?" "I feel very good now. By the way, nurse sister, what day is it today? How is Qingshu Town?" Zhang Xingyun asked in an anxious voice. "Today is the 8th. You have been in a coma for 2 days, and this is the First People's Hospital." The nurse didn't answer him in a hurry, but picked up the medical instrument in her hand and scanned Zhang Xingyun's body. After checking, she found that there was no major problem with his body. "You can find out by searching on TV, but I hope you can be patient and take care of your body first." The nurse went out after a few words of comfort. Hearing the nurse say this, Zhang Xingyun already had the answer in his heart, but he still couldn't accept it, and he was in great pain. Turning on the TV in the ward and searching for the Qingshu Town Secret Realm incident, there was indeed a report. When the Secret Realm descended, the military immediately dispatched, but was still a step late. When the troops arrived, it was too late. After suppressing the rioting elves, they immediately carried out rescue, and the leader, the Circle Bear, was killed on the spot by the military's king. Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun wiped the tears from his eyes and remembered the scene where his father used his ordinary late-stage Raiden to self-detonate to blast him away out, and his eyes turned red again. At this moment, Zhang Xingyun had a strong urge for avenge in his heart, and Zhang Xingyun suppressed this idea after a while. At this moment, he had no strengths, and was just an ordinary person. Strength. Zhang Xingyun was extremely eager for strength at this time. If he had strength, his family would not be destroyed this time, he would not be injured, and his father would not save him with his life. With the strength, he can now take revenge. "Wait, but, Rattata, Onyx, and other elves, wait for me," Zhang Xingyun said in his heart. He has a secret in his heart, that is, he is a time traveler. He comes from the blue star in a parallel time and space. In college, he had a car accident while working part-time and traveled to this world. His relatives have not changed, but the world has changed. Before the elves came, there were no Pokémon. After a secret realm fell into this world 100 years ago, elves appeared, and history has changed since then. In this world, he traveled to a parallel time and space when he was just in junior high school, and there were no anime and other works about elves in this world. He has a brother with a high talent as a trainer, his mother is an ordinary housewife, and his father is a trainer with 2 ordinary level elves. But now, this happy family has been destroyed after the secret realm has arrived. A while before the secret realm came, he and his father were sending his brother to catch a bus. After watching the bus carrying his brother leave the town, he and his father Zhang Xingyun returned home. On the way, the secret realm came. The Rumpel was walking in the direction of his brother. I think his brother is in danger. When he first crossed over, he was also fantasizing about looking at some Pokémon knowledge in his memory and becoming a powerful trainer, but it was impossible in reality. The selection of the initial Pokémon, the knowledge of cultivating Pokémon, etc., are all shackles for him. No, even many poor trainers are shackled by these conditions. He watched the animation once or twice before crossing over, which was not too much of an advantage for him. At this time, an interface suddenly appeared in front of him. There was an entry system on the interface, and Zhang Xingyun clicked it in with some doubts. There are 3 options on the interface, one of which is written as the Eye of Exploration, another is Energy, and the last one is them all. The entire interface has only these 3 options. Has the golden finger arrived? Zhang Xingyun thought to himself. He had read novels before traveling through time and knew that travelers would have systems, but he didn't expect that he would have a system now. When he first traveled through time, he was also thinking about the system every day, but he didn't expect that the system would appear today. Looking at the interface, he whispered, "Is the system here?" There was no response. Fortunately, he was the only one in this ward for the time being, otherwise he would be treated as a fool. Zhang Xingyun thought, do I need to use a password? Or do I need specific instructions? Zhang Xingyun looked at the Eye of Exploration and silently recited the Eye of Exploration in his heart. There was a change in his eyes in an instant, and he looked at the Jigglypuff who was walking outside the door. The interface in front of him changed into another picture. Name, Jigglypuff attributes, general qualification, dark yellow characteristics, natural recovery strength, ordinary initial skills, slap, call, become round, lay eggs, healing bell. The system interface is a bit simple, and there are several options on it. Thinking of this, he silently recited the upgrade option in his heart, and the interface showed that there was insufficient energy, and could not be upgraded. After Zhang Xingyun silently recited the energy, the interface showed the energy value. 0. Absorbing treasures or energy bodies can increase energy. The mall was grey and white. Zhang Xingyun silently recited several times, but the interface did not change. I think there was no energy and the mall could not be used. Unexpectedly, after this disaster, he had a system. Now he must become a strong man and avenge his relatives. 3 days later, Zhang Xingyun was discharged from the hospital and moved into the house given to him by the government. During his hospitalization, the government had properly resettled the disaster victims. Zhang Xingyun received several resettlement items. First, tuition was waived, and he was arranged to go to Changning No. 9 Middle School in August to study in the 3rd year of high school. Second, he had a 60 square meter house with a term of 30 years. Third, he had 100,000 elf coins as living expenses, which also solved his urgent needs. The house was newly built, and there was a faint smell of formaldehyde in the house. But there were also some basic furniture needed for life. The house was located in the suburbs, but there was a subway to take in 15 minutes. After hastily tidying up the house, Zhang Xingyun took a taxi to Shinsao Bank. This time he went to Shinsao Bank to get the money his family had deposited in the bank card. Zhang Xingyun believed that, if he had another sum of money, his journey as a trainer would be much easier. After going to the bank to handle it, Zhang Xingyun's bank card had another 238,000 yuan. Together with the previous 100,000 yuan, Zhang Xingyun had his first trainer fund. At this time, he could consider going to a public elf breeding house to buy a elf. Zhang Xingyun was still a little excited when he thought about having his first elf. He took a taxi to the elf breeding house in the city center. In the car, he saw the shed Dodderly and the shed Kentaro. Influenced by another memory, Zhang Xingyun still felt a little magical. Perhaps this is the characteristic of this blue planet with elves. Chapter 2 Purchase of Elves. The driver was quite talkative on the road, and he would introduce several scenic spots on the road. Young man, you are about to become a new trainer, right? The driver asked at this time. Yes, Zhang Xingyun replied. It's great to be young, hahaha. I was also an ambitious boy at your age, dreaming of becoming a more powerful trainer, but unfortunately, my own talent is limited, plus other reasons. Now I can only come to run a sports car. You have to work hard. If you are a well-known master, I will also have the capital to brag, haha. The driver said. Good words from you. Zhang Xingyun replied. The growth of the power of the elves is not as idealistic as in the animation. After the advent of the elf secret realm in 2100, it has a history of 100 years. After experiencing many storms, humans have their own system for the research and cultivation of elves. The resources for cultivating elves, the knowledge of cultivating elves, etc. are all the reasons why civilian trainers stagnate. If you are born in a good family, then the starting point of this family-style trainer is naturally much higher than that of civilians. The selection of initial elves, the cultivation of elves, the development of elves moves, etc. are all guided by professionals, so that many detours can be avoided, and a lot of time can be saved, especially during the golden period of youth. Like the Dragon family, the Dragon Envoy of the Imperial Capital, and the Sandstorm Pei family, located in the New Ocean province in the northwest of China. The training of their family members is more than 9 streets ahead of civilian trainers. After arriving at the place, Zhang Xingyun paid the fare and walked into the elf breeding house. Welcome to the breeding house. The welcoming girls on both sides bowed and greeted. Zhang Xingyun walked in and saw a dazzling array of goods. Zhang Xingyun was a little unable to walk. The Qingshu town where he lived did not have such a high-end shopping mall at all. Only the big shopping malls in his previous life could compare with it. The elf breeding house not only sells elf eggs for newborn elves and beginners, but also has elf-related products. Various props, such as crystals of different colors, elf balls of different styles, a large number of potions, etc. As soon as he entered the merchandise area, a shopping guide with exquisite makeup came over. "Sir, what do you need to buy?" the shopping guide asked. "I want to buy an elf or an elf egg, and my budget is 150,000 to 230,000 yuan. Zhang Xingyun thought. "Then please follow me, sir. I will take you to see the elves first," the shopping guide said with some joy. This is her performance, and she is naturally very happy to be able to complete an order. "Sir, don't worry, we are a public breeding house, all are clearly marked with prices, and the quality is excellent," the shopping guide introduced while walking. Unfortunately, after a round of shopping, Zhang Xingyun found that the elves at this price were all those with little potential and were common goods. For example, the 3 major elves are worth millions, but there is still no market, and the elves with better qualifications are in short supply. After the elves are born, the breeding house also has special personnel to test them, and the probability of picking up leaks is extremely low. Seeing that Zhang Xingyun did not make a choice, the shopping guide led him to the elf egg area. There were elf eggs in each glass cabinet. After Zhang Xingyun scanned them with the system, he knew the result. Among them, there is a deep yellow sandrat egg and a light yellow mushroom egg, which are more in line with Zhang Xingyun's mind. Faced with this situation, Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but frowned. It seems that it's easy to deal with. After seeing Zhang Xingyun's face, the female shopping guide continued. "A batch of elf eggs arrived at the breeding house 2 days ago, plus some elf eggs in stock. The owner said that they will be sold directly in the form of gambling eggs. If you are interested, I can take you to have a look, but I personally don't recommend doing so. After all, this involves a lot of luck and requires good eyesight. Gambling eggs is similar to gambling. It requires a lot of luck, or perhaps sufficient technical level to choose. Gambling eggs is good. Risks naturally have higher returns. I heard that someone bet on the blue quality 3 major families and soared to the sky. Some people also opened grey-green caterpillars. It's just that there are very few people who make money, and there are a lot of people who lose money. At present, people divide the qualifications of elves into grey, white, yellow, green, blue, and finally purple, which has the qualifications of a divine beast. The level of human trainers is also divided into novice level, ordinary level, elite level, quasi-king level, king level, and champion level. Generally speaking, it is very difficult for a Pokémon with grey qualifications to break through to the ordinary level, and so on. But nothing is absolute. There are some natural treasures in the Pokémon secret realm that can change qualifications, but there are not many of them, and most of them are occupied by strong Pokémon. While thinking, the shopping guide took Zhang Xingyun to the room where Pokémon eggs were placed. There were already many people in the room choosing Pokémon eggs. Some people who don't have much money and want to have a Pokémon with high qualifications. Betting on eggs has become their first choice. Most people are lucky and think that they are the son of destiny. Most of these people are novice trainers. Among the trainers who died in the wild, this type of trainer has a very high proportion. Zhang Xingyun glanced over and saw that the information of many Pokémons was presented on the system interface. Zhang Xingyun walked around and scanned it with the system. Sure enough, with the system plugin, he was very successful in picking up leaks. In this room, there were only more than 200 Pokémon eggs left, and there were only 3 Pokémons that suited Zhang Xingyun's mind. Name: Karakura, male. Attribute: ground qualification, light green. Characteristics: hard head skills, howl, glare, bone stick attack. Name: starfish, genderless. Attribute: water qualification, dark green. Characteristics: glowing skills, impact, Hardening, foam-like name, Nidoran attribute, poison qualification, light green characteristics, vitality skills, glare, horn collision. Poison needle in the game. Some skills need to reach a specific level to learn, but not in reality. Sure enough, games and animations are only for reference. These 3 elf eggs are what Zhang Xingyun likes. Changning is located in the north of Nanayu province and is adjacent to Jianghan province. None of them is close to the sea. Although starfish can also fight on land, it is still a little weakened, so he can only give up starfish. Zhang Xingyun is considering the remaining 2. Kirakara and Nidoran are both very good, but considering that Nidoran's final evolution Nidoking is a very powerful elf, it has many skills to learn, and is still a vitality characteristic. Zhang Xingyun also asked the shopping guide if there are other elf eggs for sale, but the answer he got was that a new batch of elf eggs would be available in 2 months. After comprehensive consideration, Zhang Xingyun still chose to buy Nidoran's Pokémon eggs. Gambling eggs are not cheap either. When Zhang Xingyun walked out of the breeding house, his bank card was short of 180,000 yuan. But when he saw the Pokémon eggs in the hatching device in his hand, Zhang Xingyun felt it was worth it. This trip to the breeding house cost more than 160,000 yuan for Pokémon eggs alone. Fortunately, the shopping guide also gave him a hatching device. He only had to pay for the hatching fluid himself, but it also saved a lot of money. Zhang Xingyun spent more than 20,000 yuan to buy 7 days of milk in a large milk tank and other things that Pokémons would need when they were born. Chapter 3 Hatching. At 6 o'clock the next morning, Zhang Xingyun got up and washed up. After washing up, he looked at the Pokémon egg and went out to exercise. He knew that a good body was very important for going out in the wild in the future, so Zhang Xingyun planned to exercise. After exercising, the time came to 7:30. After finishing breakfast at a street stall on the roadside, he returned home. After arriving home, he took a shower. After taking a shower, Zhang Xingyun placed an order on his mobile phone and bought a few books. He knew that knowledge was precious, and he had to learn when he didn't have to go to class. The knowledge in the Pokémon world was quickly realized, and the benefits were high. Knowledge was indispensable for those who were engaged in the profession of trainers. Zhang Xingyun went to the bedroom again and looked at the Pokémon egg. Now this Pokémon egg was half of Zhang Xingyun's belongings, so Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but be careful. After watching it, he turned on the TV and watched the Pokémon channel. At this time, the China Xianwan Cup was broadcast, which was Long Zhao vs Li Zhu. Both of them are the 2 strongest of this new generation. What's interesting is that one is good at dragon and the other is good at ice. In the match, each side had only one left. At this time, Li Zhu's thorny shell activated the ice cone skill, and more than a dozen 3-meter long, bucket-thick ice cones instantly condensed behind the thorny shell. Swoosh, swoosh, and more than a dozen ice cones with long white marks shot quickly at Dragonite. Dragonite quickly spun, using the flame vortex while spinning. In an instant, the collision of ice and fire made a sizzling sound, and then there was an explosion, and grey-white gas filled the area around Dragonite. Only a voice was heard. Dragonite uses Dragon God Dive. Dragonite roared, put on a dragon-shaped energy coat, and rushed towards the thorny shell at a very fast speed. A cold voice of ice surf sounded. A large area of seawater followed the thorny shell, dragging the thorny shell towards Dragonite at a very fast speed. When the thorny shell collided with Dragonite, the seawater behind the thorny shell solidified into ice in a very short time, and the ice rolled up the thorny shell and hit Dragonite like a huge fist. With a loud bang, they collided, and a large cloud of smoke filled the air. Both retreated. Break the shell. A cold voice sounded. As if Dragonite had expected it, Dragonite's eyes turned red, and 2 dragon claws emitted green light. It was a skilled dragon claw. Both rushed into the smoke between them, and for a moment, a clanging sound of collision was heard. Dragonite was covered with scars and retreated. It looked a little bad. The Scorpion also retreated, but its condition was much better than Dragonite. When the Scorpion retreated into its shell, Dragonite took the opportunity to use the destruction death ray to rush towards the shell of the Scorpion. When the Scorpion entered the shell, a deep yellow light arrived. With a loud bang, the Scorpion fell to the ground. When it fell, the scorpion sent out an ice cone. Whoosh! The ice cone shot at Dragonite. This might be the last blow of the scorpion. After the launch, the scorpion fell to the ground with circles in its eyes. Dragonite was also hit by the ice cone and fell to the ground, losing its ability to fight. Dragonite and Dragonite both lost their fighting ability, so it's a draw. The referee's voice sounded. With a crash, the whole arena became lively. Long Zio and Lizu tied for first place and became the four kings in the reserve. Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but get excited after reading it. At this time, the doorbell rang. After Zhang Xingyun opened the door, he found that it was a book sent by Bobo. After signing for it, he sat in the living room, sorted out his mood, tore open the package, and took out a book guide to cultivating young Pokémon to read. Nidolang also hatched in the past few days. Zhang Xingyun didn't learn it all at school. In order to be safe, Zhang Xingyun still bought books to study. After that, Zhang Xingyun's life was a straight line between 2 points, reading books and studying, and going out to exercise. On the second night of Zhang Xingyun's exercise, Nidolang's Pokémon egg had a flickering light. Seeing this, he squatted down to guard the Pokémon egg. The book said that the first person the Pokémon saw after being born would be very kind and regarded as a parent. Put the wet Pokémon egg on the cotton cloth that had been prepared long ago. Crack, crack, the egg cracked a few times, and a purple little beast with 2 big ears, a sharp horn on its head, and a pair of front teeth on its mouth broke out of the shell. The purple little beast was Nidolang. A soft cry came out of Nidolang's mouth. Nidolang rushed to Zhang Xingyun affectionately, rubbed his hand, and called Ni. Zhang Xingyun was also very happy to see this. After all, this elf was hatched in front of him, and he was also half of Nidolang's parent. Haha Nidolang, welcome to this world. Zhang Xingyun touched Nidolang's wet fur. Nidolang also called Ni. It can be seen that Nidolang can also feel that the person who has been taking care of it these days is the person in front of him, so naturally he is very close. After comforting it, Zhang Xingyun let Nidolang eat its eggshell. It is written in the book that the shell of the elf egg is the first meal of the elf, and it contains a lot of nutrients needed by the newborn elves. There were crunching sounds, and Nidolang quickly finished eating the eggshells. It's time to give you a bath. Zhang Xingyun carried Nidolang to the bathroom and helped Nidolang take a bath. After the bath, he used a towel to wipe the moisture off its body. Nidolang was also very happy and kept making a fuss. It can be seen that Nidolang is very healthy. After Nidolang finished making a fuss, Zhang Xingyun put Nidolang on the nest beside the bed and let it sleep. Nidolang fell asleep quickly. After Zhang Xingyun packed up his things, he lay down to rest. He was also tired after doing a lot of things. The next day, Zhang Xingyun was awakened by Nidolang licking his face. After Zhang Xingyun got up and washed, he took out a large milk can of milk for Nidolang to drink. Zhang Xingyun also made some food for himself. Afterwards, Zhang Xingyun took out the Pokéball, connected it with his spirit, and said to Nidolang, "Become my partner, I will definitely make you stronger." Nidolang screamed and stretched out his claws to touch the Pokéball. Nidolang instantly turned into a red light and entered the Pokéball. The Pokémon did not resist and was successfully subdued. At this time, Zhang Xingyun seemed to feel something strange in his body, and there was a feeling of gas in his body. Zhang Xingyun tried to move that feeling to his hand, and a few grey-white lights came out of Zhang Xingyun's hand. Is this my superpower? Zhang Xingyun thought. The Pokéball in Zhang Xingyun's hand vibrated, and he released Nidolang. Nidolang screamed as soon as it came out, and looked at Zhang Xingyun's hand with grey-white light. Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun put his hand on Nidolang's head, and Nidolang made a comfortable cry. Could it be that my ability can make Pokémon feel comfortable? Zhang Xingyun guessed. When reading a book, it was written in the book that in the real world, people can attach a mental link to the Pokéball, and the Pokémon will give the linker a little energy through the link. Trainers generally have very strong physiques. After a certain point, although they cannot withstand 100,000 volts, they can still withstand some skills with less power. This is also a strong guarantee for human life in the wild. By the way, you can check the system. Zhang Xingyun silently recited the system and opened the interface. He saw a new image on the interface. He clicked it, and the interface showed unknown life energy, can be absorbed. Zhang Xingyun then thought that the system also had a mall. He didn't have energy before, so he ignored it. Unexpectedly, something strange happened to his body today, and the energy of the system changed. He clicked on the absorption, and the few rays of light on his hand disappeared in an instant. The energy value of the system changed from 0 to 1. Zhang Xingyun felt very tired at the moment, but there was a trace of energy being generated inside his body. He guessed that the generation of this energy was related to his own state. Chapter 4. Initial use of system mall. At night, Zhang Xingyun finally recovered. Zhang Xingyun felt that there were several strands of energy in his body, just like in the morning. This time, he dared not let the system absorb it. Once absorbed, he would need more than 10 hours to recover. Now that he had the energy value, Zhang Xingyun clicked into the mall on the interface. There were all kinds of things in the mall, including medicine, skills, etc. But the strange thing was that there were no living things such as elves to exchange, only some props and cultivation secrets. One of the cheapest props cost 10 energy. It can be said that Zhang Xingyun's current energy can't even afford the lowest things. Before, Zhang Xingyun also thought about buying some things containing energy, but he didn't dare to try it with his current net worth. Zhang Xingyun thought that he would buy treasures and try it when he had more money. On the interface, what made Zhang Xingyun jealous was a secret book of Nidalang's initial cultivation and training and a book of development and application of primary superpowers. Secret books are not like some general books. Secret books have their own unique cultivation methods. Ordinary books have some cultivation content, but they are all ordinary. The knowledge of the spirit world is very precious, and people will not easily tell others without connections. Nidalang's cultivation secrets cost 100, and the ability development secrets cost 150. Zhang Xingyun can't afford them. Zhang Xingyun thought of the anime in his previous life, where those superpowers could improve their strength through meditation, and maybe he could do it too. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun picked up his phone to place an order, and spent 100,000 yuan on the treasure hunting app to buy a primary moonstone. Although Zhang Xingyun can also use the methods in ordinary books to train Nidalang, Zhang Xingyun still wants to use secrets to cultivate Nidalang. Zhang Xingyun tidied up, and after watching Nidalang fall asleep, Zhang Xingyun went to bed and tried to meditate. After trying again and again, Zhang Xingyun couldn't meditate and fell asleep directly. It was not until the second half of the night that Zhang Xingyun felt a little bit of energy entering his body under the influence of his thoughts, and then he reacted and meditated again. When Zhang Xingyun finished meditating, he found that it was already past 7 in the morning. Zhang Xingyun got up and washed, fed Nidalang, ate a few pieces of bread, and then took Nidalang for a run. It was written in the book Zhang Xingyun read that newborn elves should try not to use powerful skills or high intensity training within 7 days, but they can exercise their bodies appropriately. After Zhang Xingyun took Nidalang for a 10-minute run, he changed to a walk. After walking for 20 minutes, Zhang Xingyun took Nidalang back home. On the way, Nidalang looked at the world with its curious eyes. It kept calling Nini, and the whole elf was like a curious baby. Zhang Xingyun also patiently explained to Nidalang, regardless of whether Nidalang understood or not. After returning home, Zhang Xingyun drank a sip of water and sat for a while. At this time, the things he bought arrived. This time, the person responsible for the delivery was an ordinary level Pidgeot. After signing for it, Zhang Xingyun took out the moonstone, and Nidalang shouted excitedly when he saw it. He looked at the moonstone in Zhang Xingyun's hand with eager eyes. But Zhang Xingyun said to Nidalang, "This is not for you to use. I know this thing is very tempting to you, but you can't use it now." But Nidalang seemed not to hear it, and kept pulling at Zhang Xingyun's trouser legs. "Be good and obedient," Zhang Xingyun emphasized. Nidalang seemed to realize Zhang Xingyun's tone and stopped, looking at Zhang Xingyun eagerly. "When you become stronger, I will give you something better than this. You really can't use it now. Be good." Zhang Xingyun said in a relatively gentle tone. Pokémon need to be disciplined more after they are born. The 3 views of Pokémon are established by trainers. In the eyes of Pokémon, trainers are the most important to them. After pacifying Nidalang, Zhang Xingyun called up the system and clicked on absorption. In an instant, the moonstone disappeared. The energy value on the interface became 121. It seems that this moonstone has an energy value of 120. Zhang Xingyun immediately clicked to redeem Nidalang's newborn cultivation and training. Zhang Xingyun thought that he was not in a hurry. At present, the first priority was to cultivate Nidalang well. After the exchange, the information of this secret book appeared in the system backpack. Zhang Xingyun took out the secret book to read. The cultivation knowledge mentioned in the secret book was not available in ordinary books. It really is true that you get what you pay for. In the half month after Nidalang was born, Zhang Xingyun took Nidalang for running according to the secret book to exercise his jumping ability. Now, Nidalang is much bigger than when he was just born and is now 0.7 meters tall. The average Nidalang is only 0.5 meters, while Zhang Xingyun's Nidalang is 0.2 meters bigger. From the muscles on Nidalang's body, it can be seen that Nidalang is very strong. From the side, it can also be seen that the effect of the secret book is related to the health of this Nidalang. Zhang Xingyun went to the Pokémon Center to apply for the trainer qualification when this Nidalang was incubated for 7 days. With the advent of the Pokémon Secret Realm and the fusion of Blue Star, the size of Blue Star has increased dozens of times compared to before, but there may be other reasons, and there is no Pokémon Alliance. At present, there are only 4 superpowers on Blue Star: the White Bear Country, the Western European Union, the Eagle Ocean Country, the Huaxia Country, and several other small countries. For the convenience of management, the Huaxia government stipulates that only those who are over 16 years old can apply to become a trainer. However, because Zhang Xingyun's resources were previously favored by his brother, he has not yet had an initial Pokémon at the age of 17. Originally, Zhang Xingyun was waiting to buy it when he was 18 years old, but after this disaster, he could only buy Pokémon for training first. Nidoran did not live up to his talent. His strength reached the middle stage of the novice, and he also comprehended 2 skills on his own. He is worthy of being a Pokémon with green qualifications. Name: Nidoran. Attributes: Poison qualification, light green. Characteristics: Vitality, Strength. Middle stage of novice skills: Staring, Horn Bump, Poison Needle, Gathering Key, Digging Holes. After a few days of meditation, Zhang Xingyun may not have a unique meditation method. His current energy is only the energy of a thumb. Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun was in a good mood, which meant that he had made progress and was one step closer to revenge. There is another problem in front of Zhang Xingyun, that is, he is running out of money. After spending this period of time, Zhang Xingyun only had about 40,000 yuan left. Zhang Xingyun calculated that Nidalang had left its infancy and entered its growth period, and that it would have to change what it ate for each meal. According to the secret book, the orange fruit must be added to the 3 meals. In reality, everything related to elves is expensive. Zhang Xingyun bought 10 of them and spent more than 5,000 elf coins. If he was frugal, 3 small bags of feed plus an orange fruit a day would cost about 1,000 yuan a day. Moreover, this can only guarantee Nidalang's basic activities, and it cannot carry out high-intensity combat. If it is injured, it will have to go to the elf hospital for treatment, which will cost at least several thousand yuan. Zhang Xingyun was overwhelmed when he thought of this. He thought he was very rich with more than 330,000 elf coins before, but he didn't expect that money would be so hard to spend. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun planned to go to the Elf Mission Center to see if there was any job he could find. Because of the advent of elves, the world has changed drastically compared to the previous Blue Star. The Elf Center responsible for handling elf affairs came into being. It can be used to post and receive tasks, and it is also a platform for trainers to communicate. Chapter 5: Meeting an Old Friend. With Zhang Xingyun's current level of trainer, he is also a newbie who has just entered the arena, so naturally he cannot accept high-level tasks. The tasks are divided into bronze, silver, and gold, corresponding to novice, ordinary, and elite trainers respectively. Zhang Xingyun is planning to do some bronze level tasks. The risk factor of bronze level is not high, and novices can also do it. This may be due to the government's subsidies for novice trainers. Even a bronze level task has a high reward. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun took out 2 small bags of Pokémon food and an orange fruit. Pokémon food is a small brown block, which can be eaten by humans, but it will cause indigestion. Let Nidalang have a good meal. Zhang Xingyun also hastily solved the meal, cleaned up, and took a taxi to the Pokémon Center. The Pokémon Center is also located in the city center of Changling City. When Zhang Xingyun was about to arrive, he saw a tall and majestic building, which was estimated to have 30 or 40 floors, and was very impressive. The Pokémon Center is also guarded by government prosecutors, and it is also the face of the government. As soon as Zhang Xingyun walked in, a voice sounded, "Xiaoyan." Zhang Xingyun looked back and saw a girl with delicate features wearing a set of uniforms unique to the Pokémon Center. "Sister Xiao," Zhang Xingyun said in surprise as he looked at the girl in front of him. The girl in front of Zhang Xingyun was his neighbor in Qingshu Town, but she moved with her family when Zhang Xingyun was 12 years old. He didn't expect to meet her here again. Zhang Xingyun remembered that the girl in front of him was the older sister who often took care of them when they were children. "I'm relieved to see that you're okay. So what are you doing here now?" Zhang Xiao looked at Zhang Xingyun and asked in confusion. "Sister Xiao, let me ask how to get the mission." Zhang Xingyun was also very happy to see an old friend and asked quickly, "So you've become a trainer? It just so happens that my job is this. Let me take you there." Zhang Xiao led Zhang Xingyun to the exclusive counter. Looking at the uniform on Zhang Xiao, Zhang Xingyun also knew that she was a staff member of the Pokémon Center, and coincidentally, she was in charge of missions. Zhang Xingyun thought that it was no wonder that he didn't meet Zhang Xiao when he came to the Pokémon Center to register as a trainer last time. There was no one around at this time, so Zhang Xingyun started chatting with her, talking about the disaster in her hometown and her own situation. Zhang Xiao also talked about her experiences in the past few years. After graduating from university, she returned to Changning City to work. When she heard the news from her hometown a while ago, she was also very sad. Today, she unexpectedly met Zhang Xingyun, which was like a meeting between fellow villagers, and she was very happy. "Sister Xiao, I have cultivated an elf, and its strength is at the mid-level of a novice. Can you recommend a few novice tasks to me?" Zhang Xingyun asked. Zhang Xiao checked the computer and said, Jaya Plaza is holding an event recently. We need several novice security guards to maintain order. The salary is 3,000 yuan a day. If you work for 3 days, you can get an extra 1,000 yuan, a total of 10,000 yuan. Xiaoyan, do you want this task? Zhang Xingyun thought that this task was almost not dangerous, but it was not what Zhang Xingyun wanted, so he said to Zhang Xiao, "Sister Xiao, is there anything else?" Zhang Xiao instructed, "Xiaoyan, you are not very strong now. Safety is the most important. You can take your time to get money. If you need it urgently, I have some money to lend you first." Zhang Xiao's concern touched Zhang Xingyun, but Zhang Xingyun still had his own considerations. "Let's take a look at the others, Sister Xiao," Zhang Xingyun said. Xiansheng Farm is recruiting fruit tree care workers. They need to be midterm or above. The salary for midterm is 5,000 yuan a day, and the working period is 10 days. Changning City temporary security guards require midterm or above novice. The mission duration is 5 days, 6,000 yuan a day, and 30 merits will be awarded after completing the mission. Zhang Xiao replied, "Xiaoyan, I won't help you with the missions in the wild. You can consider it when you are in the late stage of novice. Now I suggest you do these high safety jobs." Zhang Xiao persuaded Zhang Xingyun. This temporary security guard is led by an ordinary level captain. Besides, it is in the city, and the safety factor is high. Now the quota is full, but we still have 2 quotas to arrange. I can arrange a quota for you from the internal staff. I suggest this one. Zhang Xiao continued to persuade. "Okay, I will choose this one. Thank you, Sister Xiao." Faced with Zhang Xiao's suggestion, Zhang Xingyun was still very grateful. In fact, Zhang Xingyun himself knew very little about this. Besides, compared with the wild, it is obvious that the city is safer. Missions like the security guard were snatched up as soon as they came out, and it was not the turn of a grassroots trainer like Zhang Xingyun. But Zhang Xiaoyu helped him get a quota, and Zhang Xingyun was very grateful for Zhang Xiaoyu's help. Just report to the Lancheng District Security Office tomorrow. It's almost time to get off work. Let's go. Sister will treat you to a delicious meal, Zhang Xiaoyu said enthusiastically. No, I've eaten. Zhang Xingyun quickly refused. But Zhang Xiaoyu still treated him to a meal. After the meal, she left a WeChat message to send him the mission affairs, and then let Zhang Xingyun go home. Since his family was broken up, no one cared about him. But the neighbor sister he met today took such good care of him, which touched Zhang Xingyun very much, and he secretly said in his heart that he must repay her when he has the ability in the future. After Zhang Xingyun returned home, he conducted some simple training on Nidalang, mainly to make Nidalang more familiar with the skills. Zhang Xingyun used a frisbee to train Nidalang's poison needles, and fortunately the effect was good. Zhang Xingyun asked Nidalang to run with weights. Of course, Zhang Xingyun was also running with weights throughout the whole process. Training with the elves is beneficial to increase the relationship between each other. Nidalang's performance did not disappoint Zhang Xingyun's expectations, and now he has a certain strength. After training, Zhang Xingyun took out the active oil to help Nidalang massage. This massage technique was obtained from the secret book. According to its description, it is very beneficial to the growth of elves. When Zhang Xingyun was massaging Nidalang, he also used his own ability to make Nidalang scream comfortably. Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun also had some understanding of his own abilities. Zhang Xingyun found that his current physical fitness was very different from before. His boxing strength reached 280 kilograms. It was nearly twice the boxing strength of an ordinary man. This was something Zhang Xingyun dared not think of in his previous life. Perhaps with the existence of elves, humans have the possibility of achieving extraordinary, like the physical fitness of real rookies in anime. Perhaps this is a change brought by elves, and it is also the charm of elves. After letting Nidalang go to sleep, Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged on the bed to meditate. Compared to being at a loss at the beginning, Zhang Xingyun has now figured out some patterns. However, he still cannot use meditation to replace sleep. He goes to bed after meditating for 2 hours. This is also a habit he has developed in recent days. Chapter 6, Mission in Progress. The next day, after getting up, Zhang Xingyun did his usual simple exercise and breakfast. He then went to the police station with a Pokeball containing Nidoran on his belt. When he arrived at the police station, it was already 8:30. When Zhang Xingyun was led to the room by a staff member to gather, he found that he was the last to arrive. According to the message Zhang Xiaoyu sent him, there were 16 people on this mission plus internal personnel, a total of 18 people, and they would gather at the Lancheng District Police Station at 9 o'clock. Zhang Xingyun wanted to arrive half an hour earlier, but was still the last to arrive. Zhang Xingyun looked around and found that many of them were young people in their 20s. A middle-aged man looked around and found that there were enough people. He coughed twice and made a sound. I'm the captain of the 1st Security Brigade of Lancheng District. You can call me Captain Wang. Because many people in the station have gone to the secret realm that appeared recently to guard, so I asked you to come. Let's not talk nonsense. The 18 people are divided into 6 groups. Each group is equipped with a team leader. Now you can set off after you get the good things. Captain Wang said a few words to the 6 team leaders and left. Zhang Xingyun was assigned to the 5th group. The place where his group was responsible for duty was this area of the commercial street in Lancheng District. When taking Zhang Xingyun and the other 2 to the duty place in the car, he also enthusiastically explained the content of the work and precautions. After some communication, Zhang Xingyun learned that the middle-aged team leader was called Moyuan, an ordinary level trainer, and his Pokémon was a big wolfhound. Moyuan was slightly fat, and his chubby face made him look a little honest. The 2 team members in the same group, one was called Chengzu, whose Pokémon was a small Geodude, and the other was called Linji, whose Pokémon was a Sandshrew. They were both in the late novice stage. They were freshmen at Changming Pokémon University. They took part-time jobs during the summer vacation to earn money to cultivate Pokémon. After arriving at the duty station, the time came to 9:30. After getting off the car, team leader Moyuan took Zhang Xingyun and Linji to patrol and asked Chengzu to be on duty at the duty booth. The advent of the elves has brought changes to all walks of life. With the factor of the elves, public security management has become more complex and diverse. The public security in Lancheng district is good. Throughout the morning, Zhang Xingyun was patrolling with team leader Moyuan in a blue security uniform, and nothing happened. Some asked the small vendors in the commercial street to set up their position so as not to hinder traffic. During the period, a lost child was helped to find his parents. After lunch, Zhang Xingyun and his party rested in the duty booth and went to work at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. In the afternoon, Zhang Xingyun and Linji were arranged to patrol together, and team leader Moyuan and Chengzu were together. The four took turns patrolling and on duty. On the patrol, Zhang Xingyun released Nidalang. During the morning patrol, the team leader's big wolfhound was there, so Zhang Xingyun did not release Nidalang, but kept Nidalang in the Pokeball. Now that he and Linji were on patrol, it would be good to let Nidalang out to see human society. Linji also released his Sandshrew, and the two Pokémon followed them on patrol. After patrolling together for a whole morning, Zhang Xingyun and Linji got along well, and chatted very familiarly. Brother, your Nidalang is one size larger than the average one, and it's well cultivated. Linji said as he looked at the Nidalang at Zhang Xingyun's feet. No, brother G, your Sandshrew is well cultivated. You can tell you've put a lot of effort into it by looking at its claws. Zhang Xingyun also replied. This was not a compliment to Linji, but his Sandshrew was really well cultivated. At present, I only have one Pokémon, Sandshrew. After entering university, I have more knowledge and resources, which I have used to cultivate it. If it still does not change, then I will lose a lot. Linji was also very happy to hear someone speak well of his Pokémon. Then brother G, tell me about university. I heard that university is wonderful. Zhang Xingyun asked immediately. Pokémon is a big subject. In university, there are many majors related to Pokémon. The mainstream ones are trainers, coordination trainers, Pokémon breeders, etc. And it takes a lot of knowledge. In each university, there is a school team, and every year, a college Pokémon competition is held. The higher the ranking, the more educational funds the school will get, and the more subsidies the students will get. For example, Changning University, where I study, ranks outside the top 100 in the country, so the funds it receives are naturally not much. Linji said slowly. What grade are you in now? Linji asked. I'm in the 3rd year of high school, and I will report in half a month. Zhang Xingyun replied, then stopped, stretched out his hand to grab the balloon flying towards him, and handed it to the child, who was chasing after him. Thank you, uncle, the child said, and then ran to another place. Linji, who was walking in front, noticed the movement behind him, turned around, and happened to see the child calling Zhang Xingyun uncle. Uncle? Hahaha, I laughed to death. Linji laughed. Okay, we are on patrol, pay attention to your image. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and smiled, and said to Linji. He was not angry, he also thought it was funny that he was a 17-year-old boy and became an uncle. It might be because of the uniform he was wearing. Zhang Xingyun and Linji continued to patrol. It's almost July now. There will be a Rookie Cup competition in November. You can challenge the Rookie Cup. I heard that the reward is very generous. I heard that those who perform very well can be recommended to a famous school. Linji looked at Nidalang next to Zhang Xingyun and said, Rookie Cup, I will participate. After all, I'm poor. Zhang Xingyun laughed. Besides, I also believe in Nidalang. Nidalang, do you have confidence? Nidalang made a full-body deny and patted his chest with one of its paws to show that he was very confident. Nidalang's qualification should not be low. He is almost the same as me now. After 4 months, he should have the strength of a late novice. It will not be difficult to get a good ranking. Linji said as he watched Zhang Xingyun and Nidalang interact. Zhang Xingyun used the system to look at Linji's Sandshrew. It was a light yellow qualification, and other aspects were ordinary. It's a pity. By then, I have had Sandshrew for more than a year, otherwise I would have to participate. Linji said. Linji didn't want Zhang Xingyun to have a system to pick up leaks. He bought the identified Pokémon eggs directly from the breeding house like ordinary people. Zhang Xingyun and Linji chatted while patrolling, but mostly Linji was talking, and Zhang Xingyun was listening. It was almost evening now, and the pedestrian street was even more lively. It was close to the end of the get-off-work day. The endless stream of vehicles on the road was flowing slowly. Among the moving vehicles, Pokémon such as Doodly and Quintero were running on the road, and there were traffic police riding long-haired dogs directing traffic. Zhang Xingyun and Linji also finished their work for the day. After returning to the duty booth, Zhang Xingyun clocked out after the security guard on duty arrived. After returning home, Zhang Xingyun released Nidolang and prepared a lot more Pokémon food for Nidolang than usual. At noon, Nidolang consumed the nutrient solution in the Pokéball. The nutrient solution was nutritious but tasted bad. Zhang Xingyun also hastily finished his dinner, rested for a while, and took Nidolang out for exercise, and trained Nidolang in some basic skills. After one person and one Pokémon returned home, it was already 9 o'clock. After washing up, Zhang Xingyun took out the active oil that was effective for Pokémons as usual and massaged Nidolang. After Nidolang fell asleep, Zhang Xingyun began his own meditation. Soon, the morning light came through the window again. After Zhang Xingyun finished his daily tasks, Zhang Xingyun started his day at work like a worker. Chapter 7. First Battle. When Zhang Xingyun arrived, the rest of the team happened to have arrived. The contact the day before made them more familiar with each other, not as estranged as yesterday. Zhang Xingyun went on patrol with Linji again. There were fewer pedestrians in the morning. After walking around, the two only arranged the positions of some mobile vendors. When they were free, Zhang Xingyun chatted with Linji again. Zhang Xingyun was curious. He had just arrived in Changling City and was not as good as Linji in terms of elves, so he humbly asked for advice. Linji was also optimistic about Zhang Xingyun's future. He was also happy to tell Zhang Xingyun about these unimportant common sense. In a peaceful environment, security guards are not very busy. The things they deal with every day are not big. They are all some fights among citizens or crackdowns on some petty thefts. As for higher level ones, they can only be handed over to the police station or elf search officers. Zhang Xingyun is more grateful to Zhang Xiaoyu at this moment. Without her help, he would not have this task that is both risk-free and well-paid. The next day passed quickly in daily patrols and chats. On the third day, maybe because they had worked together for 2 days, or for other reasons, Zhang Xingyun got along well with Linji and Chengzu. Chengzu was Linji's friend. With Linji's introduction, Zhang Xingyun also had exchanges with him. Zhang Xingyun added each other on WeChat. Time soon came to the evening, and the faint light of the setting sun cast a cicada wing-like brilliance on the city. The lights on the road lit up the pedestrian street, and the neon lights in the shops were on, reflecting the faces of passers-by. Zhang Xingyun was blowing the evening breeze. He was in a good mood at the moment. It was a pleasure to get off work. But at this moment, an untimely voice sounded. "Thief, catch the thief." A woman chased a young man. Linji went to the toilet again, and Zhang Xingyun had to bite the bullet and rushed up. But the thief still had some skills in escaping. The thief ran in front, and Zhang Xingyun chased behind. Zhang Xingyun also sent a signal to the walkie-talkie he received. Zhang Xingyun's body has been nourished by the energy in his body, and his physical fitness is different from that of ordinary people. The distance between the two was shortening, but at this time, the thief ran into an alley, and Zhang Xingyun followed him. At first, the alley was very narrow, but after running for a while, the alley became larger. The thief in front did not move. He leaned against the wall, panting. "Why do you have to keep pressing? Can't you give me a way to live?" the thief said to Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun didn't waste any words and directly released Nidolang. Nidolang was ready for battle as soon as it came out. The thief also released a Pokémon. Zhang Xingyun scanned it with the system, and the information of the Pokémon appeared on the system interface. Name: Pickpocket Cat, female. Attribute: Evil. Qualification: Deep White. Characteristics: Soft Strength. Late Novice. Skills: Claws, Howling, Crazy Scratching. Split. Nidolang uses poison needles. Nidolang shot out 20 poison needles. but the pickpocket cat used its agility to avoid all of Nidalang's poison needles. The pickpocket cat got closer and closer to Nidalang, and when it was about 2 meters away, it heard the command of split. One of the pickpocket cat's claws emitted white light, and it slashed at Nidalang. At this speed, Nidalang couldn't run away at all, and Zhang Xingyun immediately issued an order. Horn collision. Nidalang's horn also emitted white light, and with a whoosh, Nidalang's horn collided with the pickpocket cat's claw. Nidalang stepped back a few steps, and the pickpocket cat used the thrust to jump onto a piece of wood on a window in the alley. As soon as the pickpocket cat jumped up, the wood broke immediately. The pickpocket cat immediately panicked, but it couldn't get the force, and fell from a height of 3 meters. Seeing this good opportunity, Zhang Xingyun used the poison needle skill to shoot at the pickpocket cat, but at this moment, the thief was also a little panicked, and hurriedly said, "Get out of the way, pickpocket cat." Maybe his words worked. The pickpocket cat immediately reacted and avoided it, but was still shot by 1 or 2 poison needles. Some purple appeared on the pickpocket cat's face, and seeing the pickpocket cat's state, the thief became anxious. Cat pickpocket approaches Nidalang with all his strength, and uses crazy scratching. The thief gave the order. Zhang Xingyun saw cat pickpocket like this, and saw Nidalang sticking. Nidalang instantly entered the cave. "You've fallen into the trap." Cat pickpocket uses split on that human. The thief said to Zhang Xingyun, who was giving orders on the side. At this time, Zhang Xingyun realized that the opponent's target was him, and he was a little careless. In real battles, there is no rule that you can't attack trainers. At this moment, he was calmer in his heart. When cat pickpocket pounced, Zhang Xingyun took out the baton he was equipped with, and a sound of breaking wind sounded, and Zhang Xingyun threw the baton out. But cat pickpocket easily dodged it. Cat pickpocket jumped to the left wall, and with the help of jumping, jumped to the right wall, and attacked Zhang Xingyun. When Zhang Xingyun was about to attack, Zhang Xingyun used extremely fast reaction to turn his body sideways and dodge. The pickpocket cat jumped repeatedly with the help of the wall. The white light in its hand also dissipated, and it continued to attack Zhang Xingyun with its sharp claws. With a tearing sound, Zhang Xingyun's chest was attacked by the pickpocket cat. In an instant, a claw mark appeared on his body, and blood gushed out of the wound. The pain in his body also aroused Zhang Xingyun's ferocity. When the pickpocket cat jumped away, he did not retreat but advanced. Enduring the pain in his body, he made a whip punch with his right hand and hit the pickpocket cat. The pickpocket cat screamed, and after being hit, it crashed into the wall behind, and fell to the ground. Nidalang also popped up, and saw that Zhang Xingyun was injured. It roared and rushed directly to the pickpocket cat. Nidalang hit the pickpocket cat with a corner attack, and then Nidalang jumped up, and used a series of kicks. The pickpocket cat was already seriously injured, and after another attack, it lay directly on the ground, and lost its ability to fight. Seeing that the situation was not good, the thief ran immediately, but suddenly several poison needles appeared in front of him. Do you think you ran faster, or Nidalang's poison needle was faster? Zhang Xingyun took out white handcuffs, and walked towards the thief. "I admit defeat this time." Seeing this, the thief did not resist, and let the handcuffs be put on his hands. At this time, Linji also arrived. Seeing the scene, he also knew what happened. "How is the injury?" Looking at the wound on Zhang Xingyun's body, Linji asked. "He won't die. You help me watch him, while I take care of the wound." Linji picked up the Pokemon's Pokeball, put it into the Pokeball, and locked it up. Zhang Xingyun squatted down, leaned against the wall, took off his blue shirt, dealt with it hastily, and followed Linji to the duty room. As soon as he left the alley, he ran into the team leader Mo Yuan and Chengzu. After receiving the notice, Mo Yuan was worried that Zhang Xingyun was a newcomer and rushed over. Seeing the wound on Zhang Xingyun's body, Mo Yuan asked Linji and Chengzu to take the thief to the duty booth, and drove Zhang Xingyun to the hospital himself. On the way to the hospital, Mo Yuan understood what happened. After listening to the story, "You rushed up alone. Weren't you afraid that you couldn't catch him? Or how do you think you can subdue him?" Mo Yuan asked Zhang Xingyun, who was sitting in the passenger seat. "I can't let down the uniform I'm wearing. Besides, the thieves are at best novice level. They dare to steal petty things, but they don't dare to kill law enforcement officers." Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Moyuan admired Zhang Xingyun's behavior, which was bold and careful. You can't go to work tomorrow. It's okay. You are also considered a work injury. Even if you deliver the task now, it's okay. Well, I'm really not suitable for work in this state. I'll go to handle the procedures tomorrow. Zhang Xingyun replied. After the treatment at the hospital, Moyuan drove Zhang Xingyun back home, said a few words briefly and went back. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 Reflection and Training. At night, Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged on the bed, reflecting on the day's battle. His own reaction ability is much faster than before, but his response to emergencies is still a little insufficient. During the day, when he faced the pickpocket cat, he should not have thrown the baton out. It would be better to use it as a weapon. In the past half a month, his ability has also brought a considerable increase in his body, and he has also found a direction for future training. This is Nidalang rubbing over, calling NINI. Zhang Xingyun understands that Nidalang is still apologizing for his injury during the day. It's okay, Nidalang, you can't be blamed for this. I didn't expect this at the time. But Nidalang still blamed himself and felt that he had not protected his trainer well. After the battle, I found that your poison needle hit rate is too low. I will start training you tomorrow. Looking at the Nidalang who was still blaming himself, Zhang Xingyun comforted him. After hearing this, Nidalang groaned and became much more energetic, saying that it would work hard tomorrow. It will be very hard tomorrow. You should go and rest now. When he was changing the dressing, he found that the wound on his body had scabbed over. This was naturally the effect of his supernatural power. After he was injured, he felt a warm current flowing through his wound. A night passed quickly. This morning, Zhang Xingyun did not train with Nidalang because of his injury. After the regular training, Linji and Chengzu came to visit him with fruits. During the period, Zhang Xingyun also said that he was going to deliver the task and was sorry that he could not continue to work. The three chatted for a while, and then the two said goodbye and left. After the two left, Zhang Xingyun rushed to the Pokémon Center. When he arrived, he went directly to Zhang Xiaoyu's counter. Sister Xiaoyu, I'm here to deliver the next task. Why? Isn't there still 2 days left? Zhang Xiaoyu asked in confusion. It's like this, I'm injured. Then Zhang Xingyun told the story. You are still as impulsive as before. Safety first. You can stop after chasing to the alley. Why bother? Zhang Xiaoyu looked at the boy in front of him and said very reproachfully. Haha, my name is Jingai. Okay, Xiaoyu, help me check the progress of the task. My team leader said that I was injured on the job and can be settled. Zhang Xingyun urged. Your task is over. The public security office gave you 20,000 plus 50 merit points. Zhang Xiaoyu checked the computer and said, maybe it's because you caught a thief. Really, it's okay to do this kind of task. No one will say anything to you. You are injured. Zhang Xiaoyu continued to blame. Zhang Xingyun received the reward and said goodbye. After declining the invitation to dinner, he rushed to Jiajia Plaza to buy some things. Seeing the security guards in the square, some of whom were his age, Zhang Xingyun thought that if he chose to be a security guard, he would not be injured. Zhang Xingyun bought a remote-controlled plane for training, and then bought other things. The 20,000 yuan he just got was almost spent, and the remaining merit points could not be used now. When Zhang Xingyun got home, he released Nidalang and put a new vest on it. This vest was not an ordinary vest, but a vest with adjustable weight for weight-bearing training. Zhang Xingyun took Nidalang to an open space near the community. After adjusting the vest to 30 kilograms, he put it on Nidalang for speed training. After running, Nidalang was out of breath. Zhang Xingyun asked Nidalang to stretch and relax according to the instructions of the secret book. Then Zhang Xingyun took out the remote control plane. Today, let's train the poison needle skill first. At present, there are several problems with your poison needle that need to be solved. Nidalang immediately listened very seriously. Seeing Nidalang's serious look, Zhang Xingyun also got into the state. When facing fast and small enemies, your hit rate is too low. I have come up with a solution, which is the pin-shaped poison needle method. You need to shoot 3 waves of poison needles in a very short time, in a pin-shaped pattern. This can block the enemy's movement within a certain range and increase the chance of hitting. Zhang Xingyun said, while holding a small blackboard in front of Nidalang. Nidalang said after understanding, and began to train. After several times, Zhang Xingyun measured that Nidalang had a 3-second interval between shooting poison needles. In this way, although it can form a pin-shaped poison needle, it is useless if the enemy is too fast. Zhang Xingyun spent the whole morning training the pin-shaped poison needle. During lunch, Zhang Xingyun helped Nidalang massage the muscles around his mouth. Nidalang shot many poison needles in the morning, and the muscles around his mouth were very sore. After a short rest, he trained Nidalang's newly learned chain kicks. This move performed well yesterday. Zhang Xingyun imagined that, if Nidalang evolved into Nidaking, its power would be very considerable. It is also the focus of training. The secret book also describes this skill. For the chain kick, my suggestion is to use one light and one heavy. You can use heavy first and then light, or light first and then heavy. The former is mainly used to inflict damage while keeping distance, and the latter is used for unexpected attacks. Zhang Xingyun's training plan is to use the poison needle, chain kick and energy collection skills that Nidalang has mastered. Energy collection skills can strengthen skills, and the damage of skills is not small. So this is a training plan that Zhang Xingyun made for Nidalang, after referring to the cultivation secrets and some books, and adding his discoveries in life. The 1 + 1 of skills is not equal to 2, but greater than 2. After Zhang Xingyun explained, he asked Nidalang to train. Nidalang was also very hard-working. He tried again and again, and there was no sign of giving up. Nidalang also understood that his trainer resources were not many. It could only make itself stronger to help his trainer, or at least protect him, not like yesterday. Thinking of this, Nidalang trained even harder. Zhang Xingyun saw Nidalang's performance, and he could only comfort him. Appropriate pressure also helped. Zhang Xingyun thought of his own superpowers, but there was no way to practice it. Meditation was very slow. He also wanted to become a superpower and accept other people's resources. This idea was quickly rejected. First, he didn't know his specific abilities. He only knew that there was a certain amount of treatment. Second, there was no free lunch in the world, and he would definitely pay more to repay it in the future. Zhang Xingyun could only take one step at a time and plan slowly. Zhang Xingyun stopped Nidalang from continuing to train, and after resting for 10 minutes, he allowed him to train again. What he could do was to encourage Nidalang, develop a training method plan, and do a good job of logistics. Trainers in Pokémon complement each other. Some people regard Pokémon as tools, and some people regard Pokémon as partners. Zhang Xingyun is the latter. Maybe at first he thought of relying on Nidalang for avenge, but after getting along with him, he increasingly regarded Nidalang as a relative and partner. Nidalang has always been very close to Zhang Xingyun. Sometimes during training, it will only exceed the training amount, but will not be lazy. The training plan is aimed at Nidalang's energy and physical aspects. Poison is Nidalang's first attribute, so Zhang Xingyun plans to increase the intake of toxins in the next step. Toxins also require money, so Zhang Xingyun has to do tasks, which means he has little time for training. Many poor trainers are delayed in this way, but for Nidalang, its own qualifications are not low, so in the short term, the impact is not great. In a blink of an eye, it came to the 3rd day of training. After these few days of training, Nidalang has made great progress, and can simply use key collection and other skills. The pin-shaped poison needle has also been reduced from 3 seconds to 1 second. Although it cannot be fired instantly, it has initially formed combat power. For Nidalang, the next training is the problem of toxins. After all, poison is Nidalang's main skill, which is also very important. Now the biggest obstacle to improving strength is money, and Zhang Xingyun also plans to do tasks. Chapter 9, Wilderness. Swoosh, 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 dozens of poison needles flashing with purple light shot at a remote control plane. The remote control plane avoided the poison needles at a very fast speed. At this time, with a snap, the weapons on the remote control plane fired imitation bullets and shot at Nidalang, but they were all dodged. Nidalang dodged and counterattacked with poison needles, shooting poison needles in a triangular shape to attack the remote control plane. Ding 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 sounded, and the plane fell down. Nidalang saw the opportunity and suddenly accelerated. White energy gathered in its 2 feet, and it jumped up lightly and used a series of kicks. Okay, Nidalang, let's do this first. Don't damage the training plane. Zhang Xingyun saw Nidalang was about to hit the falling plane and hurriedly stopped him. During this period, he was training with the plane. After being attacked many times, the plane was almost scrapped. At the beginning, facing Nidalang's Chinese-shaped poison needle, Zhang Xingyun controlled the remote control plane and easily dodged it. After his training, the subsequent practice became more and more difficult, and this time the plane was almost damaged by Nidalang. After encouraging Nidalang for a few words, he took out the prepared food to eat. It has been more than 50 days since Nidalang was born. Now Nidalang has grown to 0.9 meters tall, and his muscles are quite developed. He can use all his skills familiarly, and even some combination skills can be used. The energy fluctuations on his body are much stronger, approaching the late stage of the novice. Of course, Zhang Xingyun has more than 20,000 left. Ding ding ding. When Zhang Xingyun was eating, his mobile phone rang. Looking at the caller ID, it was Linji who called. Linji called this time because they were going to Yangxing Forest near Changning City for a mission. They had a good impression of Zhang Xingyun, so they called to ask if they would go together. Zhang Xingyun thought about it and responded. They agreed to meet in the west of the city and hung up the phone. After simply preparing the luggage, he rushed to the agreed location with a big bag. In reality, there are storage backpacks, but the price is very expensive. A 20 cubic meter space backpack costs 300,000. Now Zhang Xingyun has no money to cultivate Nidalang, let alone a space backpack. He can only take a big bag, put some commonly used potions and things, and set off. After arriving at the place, Linji and Chengzu also arrived. After a brief greeting, Linji drove an off-road motorcycle to carry Zhang Xingyun, while Chengzu drove one himself. This time, there are 2 tasks to complete. The first is to collect the raw material for making soba potions with seed fruit, which can be rewarded with 1000. The second is to collect the poison sacks of unicorns. It is noon now, and there are still 7 hours before the sun sets. They are not strong, and they dare not spend the night in the wild, even in the Yangxing Forest, which is known as the Novice Forest. After the elves came, the trees on the Blue Star also changed, becoming straighter and taller. After entering the forest, Zhang Xingyun was also observing the surroundings. There were towering trees everywhere, interlaced with each other, and the shadows of the trees overlapped. At this time, a few Pidgeots flew over his head, and the sound of insects came to his ears. The motorcycle stopped, locked, and then hid the motorcycle. They didn't dare to go too deep, so they could only move around the periphery of the forest. They heard that elite elves appeared in the inner circle. Chengzu took out the map and checked it. Let's go about 2 kilometers to the east now. The fruit tree of Musi fruit is there. Let's go. After Chengzu finished speaking, he released the elves and walked towards the destination. Zhang Xingyun also released Nadoran and followed him. Brother Zhu, where did you get this map in your hand? Is it reliable? Zhang Xingyun asked Chengzu, who was holding the map. Don't worry, it must be reliable. They mainly make money by selling this. It's also a time-honored brand, and they dare not sell fakes. There is also a group of trainers who sell information. They mainly go on adventures, and then sell information about treasures or air elves. This kind of group has poor combat ability, but has extraordinary running and exploration abilities. The map in Chengzu's hand is an ordinary map drawn by that group. This mission was sent out this morning, and others should have taken it. There will definitely be people who will buy the map, so we have to move quickly. Chengzu urged at this time. The 3 of them sped up. We are here. The Musi fruit tree is in front. Chengzu looked through the telescope, but there are 3 late-stage novice butterfree, 7 metapods, and 20 green caterpillars on the tree. We are lucky. There are still 20 plum fruits on the tree. We have to make a plan and get the plum fruits. Linji also said with a telescope. What method should we use? It's best not to let our elves get hurt. If they get hurt, it will be troublesome, even if this is not inside the forest. Chengzu also continued. How about this, Chengzu? Let Geodude carry the flower essence with him, and see if he can lure Butterfree out. Then we can focus our fire and attack, but don't make a big noise. Linji looked at Butterfree in the distance. Okay, both of them thought it was okay. Chengzu asked Geodude to go out. Geodude pretended to be a nearby Pokémon, holding the flower essence in his hand, and slowly passed Butterfree's territory. Butter at this time, one of the Butterfrees cried out. It smelled the smell of very delicious food. Butterfly, butterfly. The 3 Butterfrees exchanged a few words, and 2 of them chased Geodude directly, leaving behind the larger Butterfree. Shishi. Geodude pretended to be scared, and ran away quickly. In the wild, it is a natural selection, and only the fittest survive. Like now, Butterfree is trying to steal Geodude's flower essence, which is normal in their eyes. In Butterfree's opinion, both of them were in the late novice stage, and Geodude was also in the late novice stage, but since there were 2 of them, they were confident that they could snatch Geodude's nectar essence. If they could kill it, they wouldn't mind, and they could also add fertilizer to the fruit trees of their small tribe. With one running away, and the other chasing, Geodude was about to be caught up, and at this time Geodude directly threw the nectar essence at Butterfree. Butterfree was also a little proud, happy that they got food. Geodude uses Rockfall. Sandshrew uses Sand Throw. The 2 Butterfrees were instantly attacked, and fell down with a scream. Nidoran uses the Chinese-shaped poison needle. Don't let them run away. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The poison needles also hit the 2 Butterfrees. Whoosh. The 2 Butterfrees lost their ability to fight, and Chengzu directly collected them with the Pokeball. Ding dong, the Pokeball stopped shaking, and there was no resistance, and they were directly captured. Ha ha ha, the plan went smoothly. It looks like we are going to make a fortune this time. Chengzu couldn't help but say happily, after taming 2 Butterfrees. If we wipe out this group, we learn more. At the current market, a late stage novice Butterfree can be sold for 30,000. The plan was successful, and after Butterfree was tamed, Linji also said happily, come on, make a quick decision, or else things will change. Okay. Zhang Xingyun also replied. Now there is only one late stage novice Butterfree left in the caterpillar group. The 3 of them didn't plan to lure it, and went straight up to fight. Zhang Xingyun used the system to scan the 3 Butterfrees. As he expected, their qualifications were not very good. These 2 Butterfrees were dark grey, while the remaining Butterfrees were a little better, but only light white, and didn't have any particularly powerful genetic skills. It's probably because their qualifications are not good that they appear here. If they were better, they could live in a larger group. Chapter 10 Rich Harvest. When they were close to Butterfree's territory, the 3 stopped and discussed tactics. Let Geodude lead the charge. The 2 of you will use the dig skill to get into their underground. Remember to attack and decapitate them when there is any movement. Then the remaining Pokémon will not be a problem. Chengzu gave a suggestion. Perhaps because the plan was successful just now, he had a lot of confidence. He looked much more confident. Okay, no problem. Okay. Zhang Xingyun also thought it was feasible, so he gave Nidolang an order and started the plan. Okay, Geodude, it's our turn now. After watching Nidolang and Sandshrew use the dig skill to get to Butterfree, Chengzu and Geodude got ready. More than a dozen sharp stones as big as red bricks were quickly shot towards Butterfree's territory. It was a sharp stone attack of the rock skill. Silk Butterfree also reacted and quickly used the silk spinning skill to intercept, but it only intercepted half of it, and the silk lost its energy and fell to the ground, and the remaining sharp stones shot towards the caterpillars and metapods near the fruit tree. Puff! The green caterpillars and metapods both splashed green blood and fell to the ground with a plop, and several of them died on the spot. Seeing this, Butterfree, which had already been red, instantly became even redder. Butterfly circles of wavy white energy circles rushed towards Geodude, which was a general skill, ultrasonic wave. Stone. Geodude covered his head, very painful, and Chengzu behind him also felt that his eardrum was about to break, and he was very uncomfortable. At this time, with a bang, Nidalang and Sandshrew broke out of the ground. Nidalang used poison needles to attack, and Sandshrew used a high-speed star similar to a 5-pointed star. With a bang, Butterfree was caught off guard in mid-air, and was attacked by 2 elves at the same time. Butterfree fell to the ground with a body covered in black smoke, splashing dust all over the ground. Seeing this, 3 elves walked forward and surrounded it, with faint energy on their bodies ready to attack at any time. The dust dispersed, and Butterfree stood up tremblingly. In fact, it could not be considered standing, if you looked closely, but it was supporting its body with its only remaining wing. Butterfree, Butterfree, Butterfree. Butterfree screamed louder and louder, and there were a few flickering red lights on its body. No, hurry up, it's blasting energy. Butterfree. With a bang, the 3 elves flew backwards, and were attacked to varying degrees. Butterfree collapsed to the ground at this moment, its body heaving, its eyes suddenly dimmed, and then it was silent. Zhang Xingyun and the other 2 were a little far away, and were not hurt, and Butterfree's energy was not enough to be released to them. This is a hero, and perhaps a competent clan leader. Linji sighed. Yes. Chengzu also agreed. At this moment, Zhang Xingyun was silent. He remembered that he had used a similar method to protect his father. He raised his hand, and wiped the corner of his eye. Soon he was back to normal. Linji and the others did not notice Zhang Xingyun's actions at this time. Let's dig a pit and bury it, Zhang Xingyun said as he looked at Butterfree's body. Okay. When carrying Butterfree's body, the system lit up. Zhang Xingyun directly clicked on absorb, and closed the interface to bury Butterfree. At this time, because of Butterfree's sacrifice, the green caterpillar and metapod, that were lucky enough not to be injured before ran away, but they should not have run far, and Zhang Xingyun and the other 2 were not interested in chasing them. The 3 of them simply cleaned up the battlefield, used the Pokeball to capture 3 metapods and 5 green caterpillars, 11 intact Pokémon eggs, some Pokémon food, and 15 wood fruit. This time they can be regarded as a bumper harvest. Looking at the time, it was only 3 o'clock. The 3 checked the Pokémon, and found that the injuries were not very serious. After a simple treatment, they continued to complete another task. Under the guidance of the program, they found a small group of unicorn beetles. This small group can't even be called a group, because there is not even a giant bee to support the scene. Maybe they have experienced battles, and the 4 iron shell pupae still have scars on their bodies. Lucky, this group must have suffered a heavy blow. At this time, Chengzu said excitedly. Zhang Xingyun and the others also nodded. The 3 immediately commanded the elves to go on the field, and they didn't plan to sneak attack. With their 3 elves, they can fight quickly and decisively. Sneak attack is a waste of time. The small group of unicorn beetles had no resistance, and was instantly defeated. There were no elves who could explode energy to resist. Think about it, there are too few elves who can explode energy. When the elves came, humans and elves fought against each other, and found that this is a kind of talent, regardless of qualifications and strength. It is the elves that will be stimulated under certain conditions. It is also their last blow, similar to the effect of self-destruction. There may be only 1 elf in 10,000 elves, which is extremely rare. The 3 of them happened to encounter it, which is also luck. After the battle, Zhang Xingyun and the other 2 cleaned up the battlefield. This time they got 7 elf eggs, 6 unicorn beetles, 4 iron shell pupae, and more than 20 poisonous needles. When Zhang Xingyun and the other 2 were about to dissect the unicorn beetle, they found that 3 elves were all shouting, as if they had discovered something. The 3 rushed to the direction pointed by the elves, and saw the bodies of 5 giant bees. Their double guns were broken, their bodies were incomplete, and every part of their bodies disappeared. Zhang Xingyun guessed that they might have been killed by the invaders, and they also ate the essence of the giant bees. Perhaps this tribe did not repel the invaders, but the invaders were not interested in the remaining iron shell pupae and unicorn beetles. They survived, but still encountered Zhang Xingyun and the other 2. With these corpses on the ground, they should be able to sort out a lot of useful things. The 3 hurriedly cleaned up, and retreated before they had time to count. If the invading elf came back again, they might not be able to beat it, and they might still leave their lives here. After cleaning up, they hurriedly ran back to the place where the motorcycle was hidden, started the engine and drove away. Fortunately, there were no accidents along the way, and the three of them returned to the city smoothly. It was already 6 o'clock in the evening when they returned to the city. They were relieved when they arrived in the city. They were very nervous all the way. They found a place to count the harvest. They got a lot of good things from the corpses of those elves. 5 poisoned sacks of giant bees, 13 poisoned sacks of unicorn beetles, and a nest of honey. Unfortunately, those corpses of iron shell pupae were all mixed with blood and mud, and they couldn't get any good things. This time they harvested 5 poisoned sacks of giant bees, 13 poisoned sacks of unicorn beetles, a nest of honey, and 15 wood fruit. The elves harvested 7 elf eggs of unicorn beetles, 6 unicorn beetles, 4 iron shell pupae, 2 butterfree, 3 metal pupae, and 11 green caterpillar elf eggs. The three of them rushed to the elf market. Many ordinary people would go to breeding houses or some large department stores to buy elves, but hunters like Zhang Xingyun and his 3 people would generally go to the elf market. There are some elf merchants in the elf market, and their prices are a little higher than those of the public shops. Chengzu came to a familiar shop with a sign of elf home hanging at the door of the shop, which looked quite impressive. The person who entertained the 3 people was a middle-aged man, or thin businessman with sparkling eyes. He introduced him as the owner of the shop, surnamed Li. He looked at the things and quoted the prices familiarly, but after some bargaining, he finally made a successful deal. A novice staged giant bee venom sac was 5,000, a unicorn elf egg was 9,000, a green caterpillar elf egg was 8,000, a unicorn was 6,000, a green caterpillar was 5,000, a metal pupa was 15,000, a metal pupa was 17,000, 2 butterfree sold for 70,000, and a honey nest was 40,000. The total harvest of the 3 people this time was 460,000. Manager Lee gave 500,000. 10,000 was a subsidy for elf balls, and a elf ball cost 500 elf coins. The rest was a discount for the 3 of them, hoping to trade next time. Zhang Xingyun and the other 2 were quite satisfied. After the transfer was successful, they left the store and went to the elf center to deliver the task. They received 41,060 merit points. The 3 took out their bank cards to receive their awards. Zhang Xingyun earned 150,000 that day, nearly 1/3, because Chengzu and Linji had the equipment, but Zhang Xingyun did not, so he got 150,020 merit points. Afterwards, the 3 of them went to a big restaurant and ordered a private room for dinner. During the meal, the 3 of them were very happy for this pleasant cooperation, and also happy for today's harvest. The elves of the 3 of them were also eating happily. After a lively dinner, Zhang Xingyun, who usually does not drink, also drank a few glasses of beer. After dinner, Zhang Xingyun took a taxi home. Chapter 11 Rest. It was already 10 o'clock in the evening when Zhang Xingyun got home. After washing up, he gave Nidoran an orange fruit and went to rest. Reflecting on what happened during the day, they were lucky this time. He earned 150,000 in just one day, but it was not reliable to rely on luck when going out. Even if they were very successful this time, they still had to keep a good mentality. If they had encountered an ordinary level Pokémon yesterday, it was hard to say how many of the 3 of them could survive. Zhang Xingyun thought of Butterfree's resistance before his death, and he couldn't help but sigh. The world with Pokémon is not as beautiful as in anime. In reality, the strong prey on the weak. There are more bloody and violent scenes than what he saw yesterday. Pokémon sometimes hunt trainers in the wild, and trainers also hunt Pokémon. This is a naked reality. After Pokémon kill people, the descendants of the deceased will take bloody revenge. When people kill Pokémon, their descendants will also take revenge on humans. All of these are there. Like Zhang Xingyun today, and the green caterpillar that escaped yesterday. If they can meet in the future, they will have to see their strength. After going hunting today, he can rest for a few days and digest the resources he got today. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, he finally had time to look at the system. When he was moving Butterfree's body, the system seemed to have absorbed energy in advance. At this time, the system's energy value reached 161, and there were originally 21 left, which means that Butterfree had absorbed 140 energy. I didn't react when I touched Beedrill. Could it be that this Butterfree is special? This is the only explanation. Zhang Xingyun was also very happy, so that he could buy the book on superpower cultivation and become stronger than his current body. Zhang Xingyun bought the development and application of primary superpowers and distributed it to the system backpack. However, the system backpack cannot put things outside the system. If it can, Zhang Xingyun can save a lot of money. Zhang Xingyun took out the superpower book and read it. After reading the explanation of some superpower classifications, Zhang Xingyun understood the use of the superpower. It turns out that there are many kinds of superpowers. There are superpowers that are more inclined to cultivate the spiritual level, wave power that cultivates the body, Changpan power that deeply studies life energy, and superpowers such as superpowers and dragon control, as well as some superpowers that have not yet appeared. He compared them and found that his own ability was more inclined to Changpan power, which strengthened his body and had a certain healing ability. It might be that his strength was too low and he could not use telepathy, but Zhang Xingyun was already very satisfied with having a special ability. According to the instructions, the color of Changpan power is green, but his ability is not green. Some are similar but different. Zhang Xingyun directly practiced according to the practice method in the book. As for the reason, he couldn't think of it now. After having the practice method, it might be that he had the talent for practice, and the efficiency was more than 10 times faster than before. When practicing, some energy in the air entered Zhang Xingyun's body and wandered around in the body. Some wandered to the head. With a bang, Zhang Xingyun felt a clear mind and understood that this energy was developing the brain. The next day, the morning sun passed through the window and illuminated the whole room. Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes and exhaled. He had practiced all night and felt very energetic without the fatigue of staying up all night. He stood up and stretched, then went to the bathroom to wash up, brushed his teeth, and washed his face, and then came out. At this time, Nidalang also woke up. Zhang Xingyun took a large cup, prepared a mouthwash specially prepared for elves, and rinsed Nidalang's mouth, and then took a towel to wipe his face. Zhang Xingyun regarded Nidalang as his closest partner and also influenced Nidalang in some behaviors. In fact, since the advent of elves, the living habits of elves captured by trainers have gradually moved closer to those of trainers. Some daily necessities specially used for elves have also been presented, and the scale is not small. After washing up, he went out for training as usual. Nidalang wore a gravity vest, and Zhang Xingyun also carried a bag on his body for weight training. Huff huff. Feeling the changes in his body, Zhang Xingyun's mood also improved. Looking at Nidalang at his feet, he silently made plans in his heart. Now Nidalang is about to break through the late novice stage, so he needs to increase his energy supply, train his existing skills more proficiently, and see if he can specify some more combination skills. After training and returning home, Zhang Xingyun took out the elf food and cut an orange fruit. Now Zhang Xingyun has some money in his pocket, so he can treat Nidalang better. After dinner, Zhang Xingyun took Nidalang to the Nebula Elf Club. Zhang Xingyun chose to go to this club to train elves because of the good reputation on the internet. The Elf Club is also a profit-making organization with a lot of equipment for training elves, which is somewhat similar to a gym. Zhang Xingyun's purpose of this trip is to rent equipment to train Nidalang. After arriving at the place, the club was also filled with 4 or 5 tables of people. They were discussing enthusiastically which place is the best to make money, which secret realm has arrived, and a certain king has destroyed the base of a certain evil organization. It was so lively. Zhang Xingyun went straight over. He didn't come here to brag or kill time. Time is very precious to him now, so there is no need to waste it here. Hello, I'm here to rent a room to train elves. Zhang Xingyun said to the lady in front of him. Okay, what type of room do you want? We have them all here. There are discounts for monthly cards now. Do you want to apply for a monthly card? The waitress saw that there were customers coming and introduced the business very skillfully. No card, just give me an ordinary training room for 4 hours. Okay, a total of 400 yuan. Okay, Zhang Xingyun transferred the money with his mobile phone, took the key, and followed another waiter to the training room. After arriving at the place, the waiter left, and Zhang Xingyun opened the door and walked in. Although it was an ordinary training room, it had all the basic training equipment. This room is about 100 square meters, with more than 10 kinds of training equipment and a small pool in the room. Zhang Xingyun led Nidalang to the treadmill, which is specially used for training elves. The main purpose is to measure Nidalang's limit, turn on the machine, and debug it according to the manual, to prepare Nidalang for warm-up. Zhang Xingyun took out the notebook from his school bag, wrote a few lines, and then asked Nidalang to start training. Nidalang immediately started running on the treadmill, and Zhang Xingyun was watching its status next to it. Use your fastest speed, and see how long you can last. NI. After hearing Zhang Xingyun's instructions, Nidalang sped up, and ran at its fastest speed. Time passed quickly, more than 40 minutes passed, and then Nidalang said it had reached its limit. Zhang Xingyun slowly adjusted the machine, and the machine slowed down. After a minute, the machine stopped, and Nidalang also got off the machine. Zhang Xingyun did not let Nidalang lie down. He took out the potion used by the elves from his bag to massage Nidalang, and then helped Nidalang stretch his muscles. After finishing the work, rest for 10 minutes. Zhang Xingyun took the notebook and copied the data on the machine, thinking about the cultivation method in his mind. Zhang Xingyun walked in front of Nidalang, put on his gloves, and took out the fragments connected to the rope. The fragments had a black luster. This was a highly toxic fragment. This was just exchanged. Put it on Nidalang, let it feel the poison at close range, and increase its understanding of poison. Yesterday's poison sac is also useful, but the unicorns have been sold, and Zhang Xingyun dare not use the corpses he harvested. God knows what kind of elves attacked, so it's better to be careful. Zhang Xingyun plans to get a few more, to increase the poison for Nidalang next time he goes hunting. While Nidalang is feeling the poison, Zhang Xingyun walks to the machine for training reaction power and trains his reaction power. Even if he has superpowers, he still needs to exercise. Reaction training can improve survival in the wild. Reaction power is also a necessary training ability for everyone who goes on an adventure in the wild. Chapter 12 Energy Cube. The morning passed quickly. After the time in the training room was up, Zhang Xingyun took Nidalang to the restaurant and ordered a private room for dinner. After Nidalang hatched, the economy was not very good, so he lived a little tight and his salary was relatively low. Now that he has a little money, he can still take him out for a meal. Looking at the Nidalang in front of him eating heartily and gnawing on a large piece of meat, Zhang Xingyun felt that this meal of more than 3,000 yuan was worth it. Nidalang saw Zhang Xingyun looking at it, stopped eating, and called out happily. Looking at the silly Nidalang in front of him, Zhang Xingyun touched its head and told it to continue eating. After dinner, Zhang Xingyun went to the Dragon Domain store. This time he went to buy energy cubes. Nidalang's strength was rising rapidly. As its trainer, he naturally had to consider it. Energy cubes are cubes similar to jelly that gather the essence of tree fruits. A small cube contains a lot of energy and element needed by Pokémon. The first step of making energy cubes is to have a formula. Put the fruit into the fruit mixer according to a certain proportion, remove impurities, purify, compress, and then repeat the operation in the mixer to gather into a large block, and finally cut. If there is a mistake in every step and every detail, all the previous efforts will be wasted, and the cost price is not low. After Zhang Xingyun arrived, he looked at the magnificent building in front of him, and saw a security guard leading a team, and walking over with a large wolfhound of ordinary level. He was very surprised. Langai's store is also in the prosperous area of Changling City. With this configuration, he can't even be the captain of the security team now. Zhang Xingyun smiled. According to Nidalang's qualifications, ordinary level just needs time. Zhang Xingyun also saw it on the internet. He thought the evaluation was good and came to shop, but he didn't learn more about it. Welcome to Langai. I wish you a happy shopping. After walking in, 2 rows of girls in Jiangxin bowed and greeted. Zhang Xingyun smiled and nodded, which was a response. It might be useless, but he still responded. Zhang Xingyun walked directly to a sales lady, who was wearing a store uniform, and had a delicate macup. I want to buy a poison type energy block. Please take me there. Zhang Xingyun said politely. Yes, sir, please follow me. The sales lady showed a decent smile, and took Zhang Xingyun to the energy block area. Sir, can I ask what your strength and Pokémon are? Nidoran, mid-novice. Then sir, I personally recommend you to buy Poison Spirit. The sales lady introduced the products to Zhang Xingyun as they walked. Poison Spirit? Poison Spirit is the name of this energy block. The sales lady explained. The poison type energy in the Poison Spirit energy block accounts for 70%, which is 10% more than the Light Soul of the same series, and the price is 2000 lower. The other substances contained are enough to meet the needs of Nidoran's body. Maybe it was Zhang Xingyun's attitude, or maybe it was something else. The sales lady smiled all the way and suggested buying the most cost-effective products. After arriving at the place, Zhang Xingyun looked at the Poison Spirit. The block in front of him was crystal clear, 10 centimeters long, 5 centimeters wide and 5 centimeters high. There was a purple halo on the surface of the block, and the selling price was 8,000. Zhang Xingyun's Pokémon with Nidolang on him was shaking. He tapped it gently, and the Pokéball stopped vibrating. Can you recommend any poison blocks? Yes, please come over here. The shopping guide took Zhang Xingyun to see other poison blocks, but the price-performance ratio was not as good as the Poison Spirit. Let's take the Poison Spirit. I want 10 yuan, and then I also want to buy some sand scale fruit and some other things. Please introduce them to me. You're welcome. The shopping guide packed the energy block quickly, held it in her hand, and rushed to the other item area. Zhang Xingyun stepped forward to take the block. He was embarrassed to let a girl take things. Well, why don't we see any intermediate energy cubes here? Are they sold out? Our store has very few intermediate energy cubes every month, and they are sold out as soon as they arrive. If you want to buy intermediate energy cubes, the Yangcheng main store has them. As for the advanced energy cubes, they have only been seen during the anniversary celebration, and the quantity is also very small. The shopping guide was still happy to answer Zhang Xingyun's questions, which could reflect the grade of the store. Soon Zhang Xingyun bought the things. When buying, he also tried to touch some treasures. Perhaps Zhang Xingyun was more polite, so the lady gave him a VIP silver card with a 10% discount before leaving. After walking out of the Dragon Domain store, Zhang Xingyun's balance was less than 100,000, but he didn't feel bad at all. This was what he should spend, not gambling or losing, so there was nothing to feel bad about. He took the things and took the car arranged by the Dragon Domain store back home. If you spend more than 50,000 at a time, you will get a bronze VIP card with a 9.5% discount, and you can enjoy the special car service. Naturally, silver level cards can also enjoy this service. After arriving home, Zhang Xingyun released Nidolang to train, while he sorted things out in his room. Zhang Xingyun, who had thoroughly studied Nidolang's initial cultivation and training, knew that it would be no problem to cultivate it to the normal level. Zhang Xingyun bought the sand scale fruit to equip a new set of meals to cultivate Nidolang. In the game, the function of the sand scale fruit is to increase the speed in times of crisis after carrying it, but this is not the case in reality. The sand scale fruit in reality is used to eat, and the fruit contains some ground-based energy. Therefore, the sand scale fruit is also relatively expensive, priced at 2,500 yuan per piece, and Zhang Xingyun bought for this time. According to the display of the cultivation secret book, Zhang Xingyun decided to change the food for Nidolang to provide it with enough advanced energy for its strength. Nidolang, come here. Nidolang stopped training, ran over, squatted at Zhang Xingyun's feet, and stared at the energy cube in the bowl with a pair of eyes. But Zhang Xingyun didn't ask it to eat, so it injured it, and didn't eat it. It didn't want to disobey or make Zhang Xingyun angry. Looking at the drooling Nidolang in front of him, Zhang Xingyun squatted down and touched its head. Eat if you want, but don't rush, and don't knock things over. I was angry before not because you were disobedient, but because you wasted. Nidolang also echoed. Zhang Xingyun could understand what it meant. The trainer's mental link to the Pokéball can make him understand the general meaning of conquering Pokémon. I believe you can absorb poison energy well. By then, your poison needle will be more powerful, and you can defeat more Pokémon, have more money, and more energy cubes. Looking at the Nidolang eating in front of him, Zhang Xingyun painted a big cake. Unlike the big cakes of some leaders, his big cake has a high probability of being realized, and it will become a real big cake in the future. Nidalang quickly finished the energy cubes and some tree fruit blocks and licked the bowl of food clean, which can be used as a mirror. After packing up, he sat on the rooftop to bask in the sun. Nidalang was there too. Nidalang turned over his belly and asked him to massage it to help digestion. Zhang Xingyun did not refuse and massaged it. No wonder some people in their previous lives kept cats and dogs. Zhang Xingyun sat comfortably on the rooftop, his back facing the soft chair, massaging Nidalang and enjoying this rare life. The gentle afternoon sun shone on the boy and the elf. No other foil was needed, no words were needed, a touch of sunshine, a friendship, and a lifelong comrade. Chapter 13 Breakthrough to the late novice stage. 3 days later, Nidoran's strength naturally reached the late stage of novice, and he also comprehended several skills. Name, Nidoran attribute, poison qualification, light green characteristics, vitality strength, late stage of novice skills, staring, horn butt, poison needle, gathering key, digging holes, chain kicks, stinky mud bomb. Help. Seeing that there is a help skill in the system interface, Zhang Xingyun couldn't help wondering whether to cultivate a second Pokémon. Now Nidoran has also reached the late stage of novice, and there are still many energy blocks. In the next few days, you can do some adaptive training and energy accumulation. The most important thing is to have the ability to go on adventures in the wild. Although there are also novices in the early and middle stages who even don't have Pokémon to go on adventures, the danger is still quite large. In response to the feedback from Nidoran's improved strength, Zhang Xingyun's supernatural power has also made progress. He comprehended the use of a supernatural power in the book, and had a trump card for survival in the wild. 2 days later, Zhang Xingyun picked up his phone to contact Linji and Chengzu, asking if they wanted to go together. After these days of rest, they should be able to go on adventures again. As expected, Linji and Chengzu both agreed and hung up the phone after meeting at the Pokémon Center. Zhang Xingyun packed up and rushed to the Pokémon Center. It was already 9 o'clock when he arrived. Zhang Xingyun went directly to Zhang Xiaoyu. After queuing up, it was his turn. After Zhang Xingyun met Zhang Xiaoyu, he told her about Nidalang's promotion to the late novice stage, and said that he wanted to go to the wild for adventure. He also talked about the last time he went to the wild. After Zhang Xiaoyu said a few words to him angrily, she suggested that he continue to do more tasks in the city. The reward was less, but it was safer and more reliable. Sister Xiaoyu, how can you see the rainbow without going through the wind and rain? I went there last time. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing, but I dare not go deep. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaoyu stopped persuading him, told him to be careful, and skillfully opened the computer to browse. At this time, Linji and the others also arrived and rushed to the counter. After the three people's consideration and Zhang Xiaoyu's suggestion, they chose 2 tasks. 1. Capture a late-stage novice Pidgeot, regardless of qualifications, and receive 50,000 plus 100 merit points. 2. Collect pear fruit, merit reward only after 10. Each additional 1. Reward increases by 3,000 elf coins, merit increases by 15. Reward 20,000 plus 70 merit points, standard for 10. The price given by the Pokémon Center is lower than that of the shops outside, but the main thing is the merit points. Merit points can be used to settle down, or to exchange resources at the relevant government departments, apply to become a direct trainer of the 3 major families, etc. In completing the task, there must be other gains and another income, so every time I go out on an adventure, I will still accept most of the tasks at the Pokémon Center. After receiving the task, Zhang Xingyun said goodbye to Zhang Xiaoyu and left the Pokémon Center. After buying some props at the store, Zhang Xingyun carried his bag and sat on Linji's motorcycle like last time, rushing to Yangxing Forest. Half an hour later, the 3 of them arrived at their destination, and the time came to 10 o'clock. On the outskirts of Yangxing Forest, you can still see people holding simple weapons and carrying bulging backpacks. They are called bug catchers or straw hat boys. Most of them come from poor families and want to catch weak elves as their initial elves and then develop further. In reality, it is still very cruel. Very few of these groups can successfully become strong. Resources alone can eliminate many people. Zhang Xingyun is now running around for Nidalang's resources. After parking the car, Chengzu took out the map skillfully and looked at it. We have to go to the south now, and we can see the ruins of a tower. Then we will go west until we see the Pingai fruit tree. The map shows that there is a medium-sized Bobo tribe there, and the location is 3 kilometers deep into the forest. This, or should we catch some lone Bobo? The three discussed and decided to go to the Pingai fruit tree first to see the situation. When they were still 1 kilometer away from the Bobo territory, the three of them observed the Bobo tribe with binoculars. This group seems to have more than 40 members. Among them there are 3 Pidgeots, the evolution of Bobo. One of them is already at the early stage of ordinary level, judging from the energy fluctuations, and the other 2 are just 1 step away from entering the ordinary level. At this time, a Pidgeot came back with 5 Bobos. Looking at the green caterpillars and unicorns in their mouths, they must have harvested a lot this time. Here comes another one, and it's ordinary level. My god. Linji patted his head. What good ideas do you have? Chengzu asked. Zhang Xingyun thought for a while and said, you two saw that there was no food in their mouths, which means they were hunting. They flew from the west, which means they were hunting there. Linji and the others also nodded in agreement. Now, let's go to the direction they flew from. Judging from their harvest, we can also know that the strength of the insect group is not strong. Let's go over quickly, kill that group, and then set up traps. How to deal with the Pidgeot leading the team? Although it is just entering the ordinary level, Linji asked. Their tribe has to keep a Pokémon to guard it, so there is only 1 normal level Pokémon that can lead the hunting team. With Pidgeot leading the team, the probability of us encountering this normal level Pokémon is 1 in 3. Do you want this? Of course. Linji replied. Let's go now, don't delay. Chengzu put away his things and called. The 3 of them headed in the direction where Pidgeot was hunting. After walking 2 kilometers, they saw a tribe of hornworms. Using a telescope, they saw that the tribe was attacked. There was a dead giant hornbee lying on the tree in the middle. There were 2 remaining giant hornbees leaning on the tree with injuries. Several iron shell pupae had cracks on their bodies and were lying on the ground. There were also 10 hornworms eating green leaves. Good opportunity, they just got attacked, so we don't have to work hard to deal with them now. Seeing this, Linji said excitedly. Pokémon of the same level, except for a few. Wild ones can't beat Pokémon trained by trainers. There is 1 Pokémon that can beat them, but the training level is not very good. Push or how to do it? Chengzu asked. I suggest a quick fight. God knows what will happen next. Zhang Xingyun replied. The 3 of them attacked from 3 angles, and their Pokémon were ready. With a bang, it was Geodude's sharp stone attack, which was intercepted by 2 Beedrills who reacted and used missile needles together. The sound was also the sound of skills colliding. After polishing the rocks, use rolling to approach them. Stone as Geodude rolled over, the 2 Beedrills used missile needles to attack Geodude. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The damage of missiles to Geodude was limited, and it only slowed down its speed slightly. At this time, Geodude accelerated, hit a protruding stone, flew up, and hit the Beedrills. Of the 2 Beedrills, one that was farther away took off, and the other one didn't have time to take off. Seeing that it was about to collide, the double guns were filled with white light, and it smashed the flying Geodude in a chopping manner. With a bang, the Beedrill was knocked to the ground by Geodude, and Geodude stopped rolling. Ding ding ding. As soon as Geodude landed on the ground, the poison needle attacked it, making a ding 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 sound. Although another Beedrill seized the opportunity and attacked Geodude, it did not cause any damage. With a sizzle, the soil under the Beedrill that fell to the ground made a sound, and Sandshrew jumped out. Sandshrew's claws glowed white and used a split attack on Beedrill, which was directly attacked. It was split and flew into a tree, fell to the ground, and splashed dust. Seeing this, another Beedrill quickly took off. Midoran, Mud Bomb. A ball-shaped black attack knocked the Beedrill down to the ground, and the soil and grass affected by the Mud Bomb made a sizzling sound. Poison Needle. Whoosh. After another attack, this Beedrill lost its combat effectiveness, and was thrown out of the Pokéball by Zhang Xingyun, collected in the Pokéball, and then locked. Chengzu also collected the Beedrill. After sweeping the group, they got 2 beehives, 6 iron shell pupae, 10 unicorn beetles, 2 giant bee hornets, and a giant bee corpse. They took off the double needles and poison sacks and some useful things from the corpse, packed them up, and put them in the backpack. It would be much more convenient if there was a space backpack. This is what Zhang Xingyun thought. Okay, let's set up the trap quickly and wait for Bobo and the others to come. Chengzu put away his things and took out some props and said. The three of them set up the trap, took out 3 unicorn beetles and the giant bee corpses as traps, and found a place to hide, waiting for Bobo and the others to come. Chapter 14 Ambush and Surprise. The 3 waited for a long time, but the Bobbers still didn't come. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They didn't dare to make too much noise while waiting, and even ate lunch quietly. The unicorn in the trap woke up several times and was knocked unconscious again. When they were about to give up, a fluttering sound was heard, and a group of Bobbers flew in from a distance, led by a late-stage novice Pidgeot. Zhang Xingyun breathed a sigh of relief. His idea was right. After he looked at the Bobo tribe, he knew that this tribe was probably the little overlord of this area. Knowing clearly where there is food, they will not waste time looking for it unless they have finished eating. They may also go to the caterpillars, but this is closest to the Bobo tribe, and the probability of hunting here is higher. Attack. In their eyes, there is probably no such concept. In their hunting, there is a Pidgeot leading the team. With the advantage of flying and the body that has evolved once, the late stage novice cannot beat the ordinary, but it can still be beaten after a few moves. But this time they were attacked by Zhang Xingyun and the other 2. It is hard to say. The Pidgeot was the first to pounce on the unicorn worm in the trap. When its 2 sharp claws grabbed the unicorn worm, Chengzu clicked the switch in his hand, and 3 alloy nets jumped out from the haystack, 2 of which covered the Pidgeot, and 1 covered the Bobo behind. The Pidgeot was covered, and none of the Bobo behind was covered. BB. The Pidgeot was also panicked when he saw this. This was different from its previous experience. In the past, it always took the lead and took the heads of insects in the group. Hunting in its eyes was just about having claws, but this time it failed. Stinky Mud Bomb Sharp Stone Attack High Speed Star. The attacks of the 3 elves hit the struggling Pidgeot, and the Pidgeot, which lost its flying advantage, was instantly severely injured. The dust at the location of the Pidgeot was dispersed, and it stood up tremblingly, still struggling. Another Stinky Mud Bomb. Zhang Xingyun was not merciful. He would not stop attacking Pidgeot because he felt sorry for it. A saint would not live long in the wild. Besides, his family was destroyed by elves. Zhang Xingyun did not have excessive sympathy for other elves except his own. After being attacked again, Pidgeot fell to the ground with a snap. Pidgeot, who was lucky enough not to be covered, wanted to fight back, but seeing Zhang Xingyun's cold eyes, it fluttered away. It was not running away, but going to get help. Comforting itself in its heart, it flapped faster. Are you going to enter the Pokeball obediently, or be knocked unconscious by us, and enter the Pokeball? Looking at the struggling Pidgeots, Zhang Xingyun said coldly. Each threw out 2 Pokeballs and collected the Pidgeots, but one of the Pidgeots in Zhang Xingyun's Pokeball escaped with a bang and was instantly hit by an Adoran's shaped poison needle. It was then collected and did not resist this time. Feeling the Pidgeot being taken care of by Zhang Xingyun, the other Pidgeots dared not break free. They were in the Pokeball, but they could still feel what was happening outside. Chengzu also took the Pidgeot. The 3 of them made quite a noise. After cleaning up the scene, they immediately withdrew. This time they harvested a Pidgeot and 6 Pidgeots, which was a lot of harvest. Now they are rushing to the place where the apple fruit tree is, hoping to complete the task as soon as possible. It is now 3:30 in the afternoon, and there are still 3.5 hours before the night comes. The apple fruit tree is 4 kilometers deep in the forest. It may be that the trees are too tall and too lush, there is less sunlight, and the environment is a little darker. On the way there, they took care of a few Rattatas that were blocking the way. When they met, 1 Rattata and 3 small Rattatas were killed instantly, which enriched the backpacks of the 3. After arriving at the place, the 3 found a shed skin. After observation, the 3 knew that this was the skin shed by an ordinary level Arbok. Still moving forward? Chengzu asked. The apple fruit is right in front of us, and there are no elves on the tree. It is likely that this area is the territory of Arbok. Now we have entered. Zhang Xingyun looked at the surrounding environment and analyzed calmly. It's already like this, so we should act quickly and make a quick decision. While Arbok is not here, we should collect it and run away quickly. Linji gritted his teeth and said fiercely. Okay, Zhang Xingyun and the others replied. They have already entered, so why not take the fruit in front of them and observe the molting. This Arbok has also been promoted not long ago. They have 3 novice late stage elves who still have the power to resist. After quickly collecting the fruit, the 3 of them carried their bags, followed the elves at their feet, and retreated quickly. At this time, the training they had in their daily lives was reflected. After running about 2 kilometers, Linji was out of breath and hurriedly called them. Okay, we have run out, and we are only 2 kilometers away from the exit. Let's take a rest. I can't do it anymore. Zhang Xingyun still had some strength to spare, but looking at Chengzu, his condition was not much better, so he agreed to rest on the spot. He relaxed his body, drank a few sips of water, and asked the elves to be on guard around him. A rustling sound came from the bushes not far from them. Zhang Xingyun had the ability to cultivate, and his perception ability improved a lot. He shouted, something is happening, be alert, hurry up. An Arbok jumped out of the bushes, a purple snake more than 3 meters long, with 2 terrifying patterns on its neck, and its tongue flicking. Zhang Xingyun scanned it with the system, and the system interface showed the information of this Arbok. Name, Arbok, male, attribute, poison qualification, light yellow characteristics, intimidation strength, ordinary initial skills, staring, binding, poison needle, bite, dissolving liquid, black mist cut. Arbok directly launched a poison needle attack, and En's poison needles shot at Zhang Xingyun and the other 2. Linji and the other 2 looked at the pattern on Arbok's body, and seemed to be frightened. They were not like Zhang Xingyun who had practiced. It was normal for ordinary people to be frightened when they first saw the pattern on Arbok's body. Even though they had learned it in college, they felt a little different when it was their turn. This situation was also Arbok's ability. It always hunted by scaring the enemy first and then killing him. The pattern on its body was a trick that worked every time. Nidoran intercepted it with poison needles. In an instant, Zhang Xingyun reacted and asked Nidoran to counterattack. After the collision of poison needles, there was a burst of explosions, and Linji and the other 2 also reacted. Giant Rock, Sharp Stone attack. Sandshrew, Speed Stone. Nidoran used help on them. The 2 Pokémon used their amplified skills to attack Arbok. Arbok opened his big mouth full of fangs and sprayed out several balls of dissolving liquid. The Sharp Stone attack and Speed Star collided with the dissolving liquid, and with a bang, a cloud of smoke splashed. After the hissing sound, a ball of dissolving liquid shot at the 3 people. Nidalang's Stinky Mud Bomb, block it. The dissolving liquid shot was blocked by Nidalang's poisonous mud bomb. This confrontation, the power of 3 elves was gathered, but they were still at a disadvantage, and the situation was precarious. Arbok quickly crawled out of the smoke and stared at the 3 people. Arbok's characteristics and size made staring much stronger. The 3 people felt that there was a ferocious snake in front of them, which they could not match, and could only be swallowed by it. Zhang Xingyun felt warm, and his supernatural power was automatically activated, which made him wake up instantly. Zhang Xingyun gathered a small ball of energy, and threw it at the 2 people and Nidalang. Nidalang also woke up. But at this time, Arbok slapped Sandshrew flying, and was tying up the small Geodude. Is Sandshrew okay? Linji woke up, and saw Sandshrew being slapped flying, and said worriedly. Sandshrew stood up, and indicated that he was fine and only slightly injured. When it was knocked away, it rolled into a ball, which reduced a lot of damage. This was its body's instinctive reaction. Nidoran was far away, and was not attacked by Arbok. Rock! Geodude cried out in pain. Geodude! Chengzu shouted hurriedly. Take out the bombs from your backpack. Geodude, hold on a little, use Harden. Linji and Chengzu hurriedly took out the bombs from their backpacks. The bombs were similar to grenades, and should be their trump cards. Arbok tied up Geodude, and also surrounded Geodude. Chengzu immediately threw the bombs in his hand. He threw 4 bombs around Arbok, but Arbok ignored them, thinking that these were some insignificant attacks, and that it had never seen bombs before. With a bang, Arbok and Geodude were blown away. Geodude also escaped, but his body was covered with wounds. What should we do? We have run so far, why is it coming back? Linji shouted. Stick Arbok had a few more scars on his body, but it did not affect its strength. Instead, it aroused its ferocity. It opened its mouth and shot out poison needles. Two Pokémon also tried to intercept. Chengzu, can you ask Geodude to use self-destruct? Yes. There was no time to explain this situation. Although he did not know why Zhang Xingyun said this, he knew Zhang Xingyun's character after spending so many days together. Geodude, approach Arbok and use self-destruct. As Chengzu's initial Pokémon, Geodude rushed directly to Arbok and launched self-destruct after hearing the command. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, Fighting Normal Level Arbok. Boom. Geodude flew out with thick smoke on his body. Quickly take back Geodude. Linji, you protect Chengzu, and I'll cover him. No, my Sandshrew is still able to fight, and this Arbok is also injured. How can I escape? Linji retorted. He knew that covering him was dangerous, and didn't want to betray his teammates. It's because Arbok is injured that I'm covering him. My Nidoran is a poison type. Now Chengzu's Pokémon has lost its ability to fight, and needs your protection. I have a trump card. Don't worry, let's go. Seeing that Linji wanted to say something, Zhang Xingyun hurriedly said, let's go, Chengzu, take him away quickly. Don't worry, I have a trump card and I won't die. Okay, you have to be careful. Chengzu was a man who acted decisively. After giving Zhang Xingyun a bomb, he pulled Linji away quickly. Don't leave. Xingyun is in danger. Linji shouted. If we stay here now, we will be a burden. Your Sandshrew is injured and can't exert much strength. Besides, Xingyun is not a boaster. He is sure of success. Chengzu advised. Linji hesitated and was pulled away by Chengzu. After watching the two of them disappear, Zhang Xingyun gave instructions to Nidolang. Nidolang, knock down the two trees at 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Nidolang used the stinky mud bomb to knock down the two trees and hit Arbok, whose smoke had not yet dissipated. Zhang Xingyun put the bomb under him, put away Nidolang with the Pokeball, and ran away quickly. He didn't think that Arbok would lose its combat effectiveness so easily. Snakes remember grudges. When it reacts, it will definitely come to chase him. It's better not to go that far. Zhang Xingyun thought to himself as he ran. Zhang Xingyun had just run more than 100 meters when he heard the sound of a bomb exploding and the roar of Arbok. He could not help but quicken his pace. He could feel that Arbok was chasing him closely. One man and one snake, running and chasing, passing several small tribes in the middle, making the road chaotic, but Arbok was determined to kill him. After running for a while, Zhang Xingyun stopped, and Arbok arrived. I can give you some compensation. How about stopping the pursuit? Zhang Xingyun responded to Arbok with telepathy. Human, eat slowly, delicious. From the telepathy, he knew that there was no room for negotiation. This Arbok was determined to kill him. In this case, let's fight. After Zhang Xingyun released Nidolang, he pinched the mysterious hand seal with both hands. The energy in his body boiled up and turned into a ball that flew into Nidolang's body. The energy fluctuations in Nidolang became stronger and stronger and instantly approached the ordinary early stage. After performing the supernatural move, Spirit Possession, Zhang Xingyun's breath was weak and his face was pale, but his body, which was regularly exercised, could still hold on. Nidolang, charge plus poison mud bomb. Nidolang fired a stinky mud bomb. Arbok also fired a dissolving liquid to attack. With a bang, the stinky mud bomb dispersed the dissolving liquid and attacked Arbok. Arbok is also a poison type Pokémon. This was just a minor injury. Zhang Xingyun looked at the system interface and found that Nidolang's energy was not sustainable in this situation. Nidolang was at the upper hand in the attack of poison needles. Arbok saw that something was wrong, so he sprayed black smoke and then entered the black smoke to fight in close combat, using his proud body to deal with the suddenly powerful opponent in front of him. The black fog was poisonous, so Zhang Xingyun stepped back a few steps and jumped onto a tree. With Nidalang blocking him, Arbok could not attack him for the time being. The poison in the black smoke had little effect on Nidalang. It was estimated that Arbok wanted to rely on its skill of sensing life in the black smoke to deal with Nidalang. After a period of practice, Zhang Xingyun would also use some of the functions of his supernatural powers, and he could still sense life. Zhang Xingyun used his remaining abilities to scan the area. Nidalang, Arbok, and the surrounding objects appeared in Zhang Xingyun's mind like 3D models. Nidalang, step back. Use the mud bomb in 2 directions of you. Seeing Arbok use the bite, Zhang Xingyun used telepathy to give Nidalang instructions. After the mud bomb hit Arbok, it couldn't stop Arbok. Arbok relied on sensing Nidalang's body temperature to identify its position. It couldn't sense the attack in the black smoke, unlike normal times, when it could see and dodge. Can't stop it. Use stinging. Zhang Xingyun used telepathy to give instructions. Nidalang now has Zhang Xingyun as his eyes in the black fog, which gives him an advantage in fighting Arbok, but Nidalang's energy state is not stable at this time. He was also injured in the previous battle, and he will return to the late novice stage in 10 minutes at most. Use the charge underground 10 points, 9 meters, jump out and use the poison needle. Zhang Xingyun issued a simple command, which could be done by the Pokémon and trainers who had tacit understanding, and it could also play a big role in the wild. Arbok risked getting hurt to bite its opponent, but it didn't expect its opponent to dig a hole in the ground, so it couldn't sense it on the ground. Swish, swish. At this time, Arbok made an uneasy hissing sound. At this time, a wave of poison needles attacked it, and Arbok cried out in pain. It used skills to fight back with pain, but was retracted underground by Nidoran and avoided. After a while, it was attacked from another place, and it couldn't avoid it. It wanted to attack the human, but couldn't sense it. His Arbok felt that there were more and more wounds on its body, so it might die here. It was attacked again. It was a stinky mud bomb, and it was getting more and more painful. A minute later, the black fog dissipated, and Arbok was bleeding. In the past, it released the black fog and then attacked the prey, which was also very effective, but this time it suffered a big loss. The injuries on his body were already very serious. He was blown up by a bomb, by Geodude's self-explosion, and was blown up again when he was chasing. He was almost killed here again. His body was already covered with scars. His anger gradually dissipated, and he regained his sanity. He wanted to leave. When Arbok was in unbearable pain, bang, he was attacked again. Arbok's eyes turned red, and he used the most powerful poison needles to shoot densely at Nidalang and spit out a lot of black fog, covering the surrounding 50 meters. But Arbok did not take the next step and retreated. Zhang Xingyun observed that Arbok retreated, and he had no choice. He couldn't keep it. Although Nidalang could hit him, it was fortunate that Arbok didn't master the ground type skills and couldn't hit Nidalang. It was hard to say who would win. Zhang Xingyun's face turned a little red, and he quickly ran with Nidalang and left this mess. If this movement attracted another ordinary level Pokémon, he would be defeated. Just wait, Arbok, you won't be so lucky next time. Zhang Xingyun ran quickly, saying coldly. He checked his phone and luckily there was still a signal. He sent a message to Linji and the others, and then he ran away looking at the map. On the other side, after Linji and the others retreated to the place where the motorcycle was hidden, they started arguing. It's very dangerous for Xingyun to do this. The motorcycle is here now. You go back first. I'm going to save him. Linji said hurriedly, after sending Chengzu to school. Don't go. It's too late to go now. We can only trust him. Trust him? That's an ordinary Arbok, known as the big boss of the novice. Xingyun is only in the late novice stage. Don't stop me. I retreated with you for protection. Now you are safe. I want to go back. If you are a brother, don't stop me. I'm not stopping you. You will only do useless work. Your elf is still injured. It won't be of much use if you go there. Chengzu persuaded patiently. What should I do? Ignore him? I can't do it. Linji started to walk away, and Chengzu hurriedly pulled him back. Let's think of a solution. It's really useless for you to go there now. Do you have a solution? Yes. Chengzu nodded, smiled bitterly, took out his mobile phone, and found a contact. This was the person he didn't want to call, but if he wanted to save Zhang Xingyun, this was the only way for him. Ding dong. At this time, their mobile phones received a message from Zhang Xingyun, saying that he was fine, and asked them to leave first, and he would go out from the north exit, and meet at the elf center in the evening. Hahaha, I'm glad you're okay, Linji said happily, and opened the contact to call Zhang Xingyun. Don't call, he's probably on the run, there's no need, Chengzu advised. That makes sense. Linji also thought it made sense. After packing up, the two got on the motorcycle, started the engine and drove towards the city. As expected, he is a good friend of mine, maybe, Chengzu was thinking, while riding the bike. Chapter 16 Mysterious Girl. Zhang Xingyun rested in an abandoned tree hole for 20 minutes, and his supernatural powers were restored. Nidalang seemed to be in particularly good spirits. This time, it experienced energy close to the ordinary level. Although it has now recovered to the late novice stage, it is also very beneficial to it. During the 20 minutes of rest, Zhang Xingyun took out potions and food for Nidalang, and he had a full meal while recovering. Zhang Xingyun looked at his phone. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and the sunlight was a little dim. It was still 2.5 kilometers away from the north exit. It should be considered a safe zone. Let's go. Let's get out of the forest before sunset. Although it is dangerous this time, there are still gains. Zhang Xingyun packed his backpack and stood up. These experiences have been too smooth, and he was a little arrogant, so this time he was so embarrassed. Zhang Xingyun thought that the reason why Arbok chased the three of them should be because of the wild apples. They would not give up the fat meat in their mouths, and the price was to be chased by Arbok. Fortunately, Zhang Xingyun won, winning the fruit, and winning his life. Besides, this Arbok should have eaten humans before. After it smells the human scent, the probability of attacking them is not low. In short, in the wild, strength speaks. Even if they are humans, there are many conflicts. There are only good and bad humans. There was a bang not far in front of Zhang Xingyun. It was the sound of the collision of skills. Zhang Xingyun quickened his pace and went around. He didn't think there was any benefit in joining in the fun. If he met a ruthless person who was unhappy with him and killed him, it would be miserable. Although this place is not far from the exit, he didn't dare to gamble. Life is only once. Zhang Xingyun frowned. He felt the fluctuations of the battle coming from a distance. Fuck the street. Zhang Xingyun quickly hid in a nearby bush. A big turtle flew in a parabola and hit the big tree 20 meters in front of him. The thick tree was broken in half, and the big turtle also lay under the tree, with circles in his eyes, losing the ability to fight. Before Zhang Xingyun had time to check with the system, a Pokémon ball came through the air and took Dejia into it. Dejia had no ability to resist and was directly taken into the Pokémon ball. With a rustle, a girl and a Pokémon walked out of the bushes. The girl had delicate features, a tall figure, clear and bright pupils, curved eyebrows, long eyelashes trembling slightly, and a faint blush on her fair and flawless skin. Maybe it was because of running, there were still a few drops of sweat on her forehead. It's not that Zhang Xingyun has never seen a beautiful woman, but he still looked at this beauty a few more times. But the girl's next action made Zhang Xingyun a little dumbfounded. The girl released the unconscious Dejia, beat him up, and then put him into the Pokémon ball. It feels much better. It made me run so far. It's not too much to beat him up, the girl said to the Pokémon ball. Chilu Chilu. Kilulian beside the girl pointed to the direction where Zhang Xingyun was hiding and shouted, I found you. You'd better come out and explain yourself, or don't blame me for being rude. The girl also reacted and looked at the bushes with an ugly face. Misunderstanding, misunderstanding. Zhang Xingyun hurried out and explained repeatedly, and also scanned Curlia with the system. Name, Curlia, female. Attributes, psychic, fairy qualification, light blue characteristics, telepathy strength, ordinary initial skills, call, telekinesis, teleportation, meditation, magic leaf, The girl didn't expect it to be a boy with dark skin and regular features, but suddenly thought of something, and her face turned red. Did you see it all? No. Do you think I will believe it? No. Aren't you afraid that I will kill to silence you? The girl laughed softly. Zhang Xingyun directly released Nidalang, releasing his ability to increase Nidalang's strength, and looked around to find the best escape route. Hey, I didn't expect it to be a superpower. Forget it, I was just kidding you. I'm not that petty. The girl looked at Zhang Xingyun's behavior and explained. But Zhang Xingyun still didn't dare to relax, and kept his body tense. I'm not lying to you. Do you think I would talk to you like this if I wanted to kill you? Zhang Xingyun didn't say anything, and looked at the girl in front of him quietly. He didn't dare to gamble, and couldn't afford it. I'm also a superpower. Maybe we will have intersections in the future. Don't worry, I'm not bloodthirsty. I was just joking just now. The girl was filled with blue energy and her eyes were slightly blue. Zhang Xingyun's state became more nervous. A fool. Seeing the hostility of the boy in front of her become more and more serious, the girl was also a little confused. Superpowers are a very special group. There are very few people with superpowers. Generally, if they meet someone who is not an enemy, they will usually greet him in a friendly way. At this time, the girl's mobile phone rang. After answering it, the girl put the phone away. Well, okay, I hope you don't tell anyone about me, otherwise The girl waved her fist and threatened. Although the girl looked somewhat pleasing to the eye, he still did not dare to relax. Forget it, I won't talk to you, wooden man. The girl pouted, threw out an elf, and jumped on it. Zhang Xingyun scanned it again with the system. Name, Desert Dragonfly, male, attributes, ground, dragon qualification, dark green characteristics, floating strength, elite midterm skills, sand throwing, dragon claw, dragon breath, dragon god dive, power of the earth. Maybe we will meet again, goodbye wooden man. The girl said with a smile, and flew away on the desert dragonfly. Looking at this scene in front of him, Zhang Xingyun was very envious. The clothes on the girl are the protective suits of the popular Magic Girl series this year, which are worth more than 3 million. With these two precious selves, this is a rich woman, and a very rich woman. Thinking of the scene of the girl beating the big armor, Zhang Xingyun's mouth twitched a few times. I shouldn't see you again. Zhang Xingyun sorted it out. He didn't take the girl's words seriously. He rushed to the exit with Nidoran. He didn't want to encounter any more accidents. He was very tired. He used his supernatural power twice, which was an overload for his body. Fortunately, Zhang Xingyun's ability has the function of healing, otherwise he would not be able to recover so quickly, and use it twice. At 6:30, he just arrived at the exit. After walking for a while, he saw a taxi, and took it to the Pokémon Center. After getting off the car, Linji and the others were also waiting. Haha, I knew you would be fine. Linji patted Zhang Xingyun's shoulder. It's good that you are fine. Chengzu next to him also said with a smile. Let's eat first, and the harvest will come later. Let's eat. Chengzu greeted. Okay. Zhang Xingyun got on the motorcycle, and went to a nearby restaurant, to order a private room for dinner. Before the food came, they started chatting. Brother, how did you escape? That Arbo monster is quite strong. Linji asked curiously. Chengzu also turned his head to look at Zhang Xingyun, his eyes also a little curious. I bought a powerful breath clearing bomb. When you left, I ordered Nidoran to knock down all the trees around to block our box direction. After placing the bomb that Chengzu gave me, I used the powerful breath clearing bomb. When Arbok came out, he couldn't smell my scent, and I successfully evacuated. I just ran in a different direction than you. Wow, I knew you would be fine. See, Xingyun doesn't fight an unprepared battle. Now you believe it. Chengzu felt a little strange when listening to Zhang Xingyun's words, but he still said it. Zhang Xingyun lied. He didn't want too many people to know that he was a psychic, and he didn't want to have too many troubles. It could also be a trump card, to be used in specific situations, like this time. The waiter brought the food, and prepared food for Nidoran, and Nidoran started eating directly. Their Pokémon were still receiving treatment at the Pokémon hospital, especially Geodude, who was seriously injured. Chapter 17 Harvest Distribution. At the dinner table, 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes were served. Chengzu put down the beer in his hand and said seriously, Xingyun, You have made the greatest contribution this time, so I discussed with Linji that we can each take 10% of the harvest this time. How can that be possible? Zhang Xingyun quickly refused. Even if I was the last one to leave, your contribution is also great, Brother Zhu. The Geodude exploded. The three argued for a long time and finally decided that they would take half of the harvest and Zhang Xingyun would take half. Zhang Xingyun had no choice but to accept it, but he felt warm in his heart, and his kindness was not in vain. Brother, let me discuss something. Chengzu took a sip of beer and his face flushed. What's the matter? Zhang Xingyun replied. It's like this. Isn't there a Pidgeot in the harvest this time? I like it very much. I want to pay for it. How about it? Of course, Brother Zhu, you are too polite. You don't need to pay. Just take the Pidgeot. I believe Linji has no objection. Yes, I have no objection. No, how can you do that? If you are brothers, don't talk about it. Chengzu refused. Okay then. Seeing Chengzu said this, Zhang Xingyun stopped persuading him. After dinner, the three of them went to the elf house in the elf market. The boss's actions last time made them all feel good, so they went there again this time. After entering the store, it was still the same manager Lee. Manager Lee received them very warmly. The two sides talked for a while and reached a deal. This time, except for the mission requirements of the elf center and the Pidgeot, everything else was sold. They got 700,000 yuan, and the three of them walked out very satisfied. It was mainly because of the Bobo. The flying type Bobo is more expensive. He went to the elf center again to hand in the task and gained another 85,245 merit points. In a corner of the elf center, the three of them divided the money. Chengzu gave the Pidgeot 125,000 to make it even. Zhang Xingyun got 500,125 merit points, which was a little more than the amount. Since the two insisted on doing so, he had no choice but to accept it, feeling a little touched. After dividing the money, Zhang Xingyun took the initiative to invite the two to sing karaoke and drink. After playing and making noise, Zhang Xingyun returned home drunk at 11 o'clock. After returning home, he washed his face. He could use his supernatural power to keep himself from getting drunk, but it was boring. He was very happy tonight, not only because of the gains, but also because of his two partners. After washing his face and using his abilities, his spirits improved. La la la. Zhang Xingyun's phone rang. It was Zhang Xiao calling. She got off work at 6 p.m. and didn't see Zhang Xingyun. She called to ask about the situation. After exchanging a few pleasantries, she hung up the phone. After the call, the beautiful face of the girl in the afternoon came to his mind, and then he thought of the scene of her beating Dejia. He shook his head violently and stopped imagining. He would not say anything more. Perhaps he would not meet her again in the future. After all, she looked like a rich woman and her family background was definitely not bad. He was just a student, and at this time he was only in the late stage of the novice. Maybe he had a good talent for supernatural powers and a system, and there would be no intersection in the future. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and went to the kitchen to make food. Now his stomach was empty, and Nidalang was also eating something today, so he could make a midnight snack now. Zhang Xingyun made instant noodles for himself and an energy cube, set meal for Nidalang. He took it to the living room to eat, turned on the TV, and tuned to the news channel. The news was that the government sent 3 kings to encircle and suppress the R organization on Xianmen Island, and they reaped a lot of rewards. There were also king level masters involved in this matter. What did this indicate? Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun also smiled. He was only in the late stage of the novice. Why did he think so much? Seeing 1 or 2 king level elves fighting each other was quite exciting. At the level of the king, fighting in the wild was much more complicated and exciting than the competition. Nidalang was also watching TV and shouted with full energy. Zhang Xingyun understood that Nidalang was saying that it would be as powerful as the king level elves on TV one day. Ha ha ha, yes, we will definitely do it. Zhang Xingyun touched Nidalang's head and promised. Nidalang performed very well today, especially the use and power of poison needles and poison mud bombs, which made him very satisfied. Zhang Xingyun estimated that his energy level should be close to the late stage of novice. After performing the supernatural skill Spirit Attachment, Nidalang instantly approached the ordinary level, and also made Nidalang feel the feeling of the ordinary level, which was also very beneficial for the next training. Now Nidalang should be about to evolve. Evolution is a leap in the life of elves, which is very important for elves in training. According to the Cultivation Secret book, some things should be prepared to help Nidalang evolve, while improving his qualifications. Zhang Xingyun got up and cleaned up the kitchen and living room. In the past few months, he has learned to cook and prepare meals for Nidalang. Although the taste is not as good as that of restaurants outside, it is not far behind. After cleaning up, he washed Nidalang. When Nidalang was dried after bathing, Nidalang was a little naughty, shaking his body, splashing water on Zhang Xingyun, and was quite proud. Zhang Xingyun smiled and dried its body, not minding Nidalang's playfulness. After washing himself, Zhang Xingyun wiped his head and walked into the bedroom. Huh? Why is there something on the bed in the bedroom? Nidalang, come here, something's wrong. Nidalang rushed over immediately after hearing the noise, stood in front of Zhang Xingyun, and was alert. Turning on the light, he saw a Pokémon hatching device on the bed, and there was a Pokémon egg with yellow-brown stripes inside. Scanning it with the system, the information of this Pokémon was displayed. Name, Electric Monster Attribute, Electricity Qualification, Dark Green Characteristics, Enthusiasm Skills, Impact, Staring, Electric Shock, Discharge. Tile breaking. Next to the incubator was a bulging briefcase and a package. How did this appear in my room? Such a precious elf. Zhang Xingyun thought to himself. He walked forward and picked up the briefcase. It was heavy and there must be a lot of things in it. Unzipping the briefcase, Zhang Xingyun saw a stack of banknotes and 2 thick books. After counting, there were 300,000 cash. Who put this here? What's the purpose? I don't seem to have anything to attract attention. Zhang Xingyun looked at the things in front of him and thought a lot for a while. He took out the book and took a look. It was a book of experience and insights of a junior breeder. Just flipping through it, you will know that the knowledge in it is very precious. There are also several recipes and descriptions of the production process of energy blocks. After putting down the book, he picked up another book. It was a cultivation secret book for electric monsters, both for beginners and ordinary ones. He took out the package and found several pieces of fragments with strong ground energy. Zhang Xingyun knew that this was a very valuable treasure called Earth Rock Soul, which could provide energy and change the qualifications of ground and rock elves during their evolution. Who would put such a valuable thing here? Finally, he turned his eyes to the elf incubator. After lifting the elf incubator, he saw an envelope pressed down. Zhang Xingyun picked it up and took a look. Is it a letter? After opening it and taking a look, Zhang Xingyun's pupils shrank and an incredible look appeared on his face. Chapter 18. Contents of the letter. What caught Zhang Xingyun's eyes was a letter with words written on it. The letter read, Xiaoyan, when you see this letter, I may have left. When I was attacked by the elves, I met a nobleman. Don't worry, I'm fine now, and have joined the nobleman's organization. Seeing how you live, I feel relieved. I won't tell you where I am, or leave my contact information. What I'm doing is a bit complicated, and I'm afraid that it will implicate you. Okay, these things are given to you by me. You must accept them. You must also work hard to improve your strength. When the time is up, we will retaliate against the elves that destroyed our family. I may not be able to report for some reason, so I can only let you come. Finally, I hope that our 2 brothers can meet at the top. Don't miss me. Brother Feng will stay. This is a letter from the eldest brother. Zhang Xingyun smiled and wiped his tears. It turned out that his eldest brother was still alive, but he couldn't come to meet him for some reason. But what did his eldest brother do? Why didn't he leave his contact information? And how did this resource worth millions come from? Forget about it. Thinking that his elder brother is still alive, Zhang Xingyun feels very happy. He still has a brother, and he is no longer alone. Oh, and there is Nidalang. Zhang Xingyun looked at Nidalang beside him. Nidalang looked at Zhang Xingyun in confusion. It's okay, it's just that your resources have arrived, and you can become stronger. Zhang Xingyun smiled and touched Nidalang's head. Nidalang was also very happy. Although he didn't know where the resources came from, his trainer said it was there, and he could feel that there was something he longed for in the package. Nidalang, get ready. We will have more intensive training tomorrow and must become stronger. Okay, go to sleep. There is still something to do tomorrow. Nidalang did not return to its nest, but lay down beside Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged on the bed and started practicing. With today's income of 500,000 Pokémon coins and nearly 1 million resources sent by his elder brother, Zhang Xingyun can continue to train next, and the improvement of his strength can be put on the fast track. Zhang Xingyun made a plan to let Nidalang accumulate strength before the start of school. He read the book of the primary breeder and could not stop practicing his supernatural powers. Time seemed to have pressed the fast forward button, and time flew quickly until the last day of July. He would go to school tomorrow. After the elves came, the college entrance examination was also an important opportunity for ordinary people to change their fate. It was about the same importance as before the advent. The school would start 1 month earlier like before, that is, in August. The electric monster broke out of its shell soon, and reached the middle stage of the novice with a little training. Nidalang also had a kind attitude towards this companion. Soon, the two became very friendly, and sometimes even exchanged ideas with each other. The result was naturally that the electric monster lost. Facing the Nidalang with rich combat experience, it was quickly defeated, but it did not give up the challenge. After each exchange, Zhang Xingyun gave special instructions to the electric monster, and the exchange time between the electric monster and Nidalang became longer and longer. Of course, the training of Nidalang was not relaxed, and it was still training according to the plan. In July, he and Linji also went on many adventures and gained a lot. The electric monster also grew up and mastered several skills. Its strength was also steadily improved under Zhang Xingyun's training. Name, Electric Monster, Male, Attribute, Electricity Qualification, Dark Green Characteristics, Energetic Strength, Novice Midterm Skills, Impact, Stare, Electric Shock, Discharge, Crack, Shadow Clone, Lightning Fist. Nidalang also made great progress, and was only one step away from the normal level, but Zhang Xingyun considered that Nidalang had entered the late novice stage too short a time. So he kept asking it to accumulate and polish its energy. Zhang Xingyun also tried the spirit attachment technique to let Nidalang enter the normal level to experience it. I believe that soon, Nidalang will be able to enter the normal level. Name, Nidalang Attribute, Poison Qualification, Light Green Characteristics, Vitality Strength, Novice Late Term Skills, Stare, Horn Collision, Poison Needle, Gathering Key, Digging Holes, Chain Kicks, Stinky Mud Bomb, Help, Shadow Clone. The two elves are improving, and Zhang Xingyun is also improving. Now his ability has also broken through and reached a new level. His ability is to take objects from a distance and heal some minor injuries. He has also learned telepathy and can communicate with ordinary Pokémon. The intermittent voice he received when communicating with Arbok last time is no longer heard. His ability makes him feel close to ordinary Pokémon. When he is in the wild, some Pokémon will not provoke him. Of course, Zhang Xingyun will not give up hunting because of this. Just after dinner, Zhang Xingyun received a call from Chengzu, asking him to go to the forest bar for a drink and to discuss something. After receiving the call, Zhang Xingyun packed up, put Nidalang and Electric Monster back into the Pokéball, and hung it on his belt, and rode the motorcycle he had just bought to the forest bar. 20 minutes later, Zhang Xingyun arrived at the bar, and walked to the private room Chengzu sent him. The bar was bustling. With the group of trainers, the bar is even more lively. After adventures, many trainers need to vent their stress. Bars have become the choice of many people. The bar industry chain is also larger and more important than before the advent of Pokémon. Suhei, Suhei, Suhei. The passionate music filled his ears. In the bar, strangers sat in twos and threes, talking to each other. The singer's infectious voice slowly filled the air. The noisy crowd, the enchanting sexy women and the young crazy men danced passionately on the dance floor. After entering the private room, the noisy sound was separated by the wall and the door. Xingyun, you're here. Chengzu greeted Zhang Xingyun as he walked in. "Yes, I'm here." Zhang Xingyun nodded, walked forward and sat opposite Chengzu. Linji was also in the room. He always had a smile on his face. I don't know what good things happened to him. There were also several pretty hostesses around them. After seeing Zhang Xingyun arrive, Chengzu asked these hostesses to leave. In Linji's reluctant eyes and the hostesses scolding, they walked out of the room. "Really, Xingyun? We are so stressed out. When we go on adventures during the day, we have to enjoy more. Why are you always like this?" As soon as the hostesses left, Linji complained. "I don't like it, and I don't have the energy to deal with it. The daytime adventures are tiring enough. Women, forget it." Zhang Xingyun smiled and shook his head. Usually, after they go on adventures, they will go out to have fun, but Zhang Xingyun is very open when it comes to eating, but he is very restrained when it comes to playing. People after the elves come to the world are generally precocious, and some love affairs are normal, and hanging out in bars is normal. Usually, when they come to the bar, they order a barmaid, but Zhang Xingyun doesn't order one. Even if they order one for him, he will ignore it. But even if Zhang Xingyun doesn't like it, they won't call the barmaid away. Why did they call her away this time? Zhang Xingyun also felt strange. "Xingyun, I called you here this time because I have something to discuss with you." "Oh, what are you discussing?" "Brother Zhu, don't worry. As long as I can help, I will definitely help." Chengzu was silent for a while and then slowly said, "It's like this. After so many years of accumulation, my little Geodude has recently shown signs of evolution. I want to buy some treasures to help it evolve, but I don't have much money, so." Chengzu felt a little embarrassed when he said this. "So that's the case. How much do you need?" "This will cost 500,000. "Okay, I'll transfer the money to you now." After this period of hunting, although the income was less than the previous 2 times, Zhang Xingyun's bank card had more than 1 million in deposits, and this was when he was breeding 2 Pokémon. Of course, he got more than 500,000 from the last time he was cut off, and his brother also gave him more than 300,000, plus the gains from the recent few times. "Thank you, I'll lend my money to Linji to buy treasures to upgrade." His Sandshrew evolved, and is now a normal Sandshrew. No wonder he always smiled when he saw Linji. He had a good relationship with Linji and Chengzu. They got along well during the first mission. Even if Chengzu wanted to take more, he would lend them. The 3 of them drank beer for a while and chatted for a while before Zhang Xingyun said goodbye and left. Zhang Xingyun called a taxi and went home with the car. Although he was not drunk, it would still be troublesome if he encountered a traffic police. After returning home, he washed up and went to practice. He had to go to school tomorrow. He had to revise his plan. Chapter 19 School starts. August 1st was the first day Zhang Xingyun was going to school. Early in the morning, Zhang Xingyun washed up, did some simple exercises, prepared food for the 2 elves, and had breakfast. After eating, he put the elf ball into his belt, put on his school bag and went out, riding a motorcycle to school. The resources and guidance of the school are also of great benefit to Zhang Xingyun. With the memory of the previous life, compared with the current education, the teaching in the world after the elves came is more interesting to Zhang Xingyun. There are ordinary students and trainer students in school. People have different choices and study in different directions. Not everyone is willing to embark on the road of training. Compared with the dangers in the wild, it seems much safer in the city, and you can also adopt some elves to satisfy your trainer addiction. But these are not possible for Zhang Xingyun. He understands that revenge depends on elves, and trainers also have a special status in society, which is what he wants. Zhang Xingyun arrived at the school at 7 o'clock. After entering the school gate, his Pokémon was placed in the school breeding house near the school gate. Then he went to find the classroom. He received a message a few days ago. At this time, he was looking at his mobile phone to find his class. The classroom of class 13 of senior 3 is in building A, on the 4th floor, the first room on the right, after going up the middle stairs. Zhang Xingyun read the mobile phone and searched. He soon found the class. He walked in and found many boys and girls chatting. He only realized now that he was a 17-year-old boy, but seeing these students full of youthful vitality, he seemed too mature. He sat casually on the desk at the back and observed the surroundings. This world is indeed precocious, but it is mainly a group of trainers, and the students are not much different from the students in the previous life of China except for taking the path of trainers. Soon the number of people reached 50. A middle-aged man stood at the door of the classroom, and the whole class fell silent. The middle-aged man walked in and stood on the podium. He adjusted his glasses and said, "There are 50 people now, and everyone is here. I will just say a few words. First of all, you who came to this classroom may have been promoted from the second year of high school, or you may have transferred here for other reasons, but this is not important. What is important is your next choice. If you still want to quit the trainer class, come and register with me. Listen, this is very important. It means the path you will take in the future." 10 people walked up one after another, registered, and sat back in their original seats. Very good. Students who have registered, report to class 5 after this class. Students who have not registered will take the path of trainers in the future. Unless there are special reasons, you are not allowed to quit. Of course, I can't control you if you quit. At this time, the students in the classroom were all listening carefully. I'm not your class teacher, because we're going to have a test starting tomorrow. Classes 1 to 8 are for ordinary students, 9 to 10 are for trainers, and 11 to 20 are for full-time trainers. Trainers in class 20 have the best treatment, the most subsidies, and the best resource guidance in all aspects. The students in the classroom became noisy when they heard this, and they whispered to each other, and the teacher on the podium did not stop them, letting them chatter for a while. Zhang Xingyun sat in the corner of the last row, sitting quietly, with no one sitting next to him. In the trainer industry, those with strong strength can enjoy good training conditions, and he was not surprised at all by what the middle-aged teacher on the podium said. After the discussion died down, the middle-aged teacher walked around the classroom, drank a sip of the water he brought with him, and started talking again. You don't need to be happy too soon. 11 to 15 is one level, 16 to 19 is another level, but 20 is the best level, because it only accepts 30 people. That's right, only 30 people. Generally speaking, a class has 60 to 70 people, and class 20 has only 30 people, which means that the resources of a class are used on these 30 people, plus other conditions. Wow. Now let me tell you the conditions for admission. Trainers who have trained ordinary level trainers will be directly promoted to class 20, and then the remaining places in class 20 will be filled by those with higher test scores. Teacher, I think that's unfair. Why don't ordinary level trainers need to take tests and can be directly promoted to class 20? This was questioned by a young man with ordinary facial features and a thin figure. Hey, it's unfair. The unfairness has started since you were born. There is no absolute fairness in this world. There is only relative fairness. I ask you, is it wrong for people to use the resources they can use to reach the normal level in advance? In fact, it is really unfair to put the normal level into the competition, especially for the students who are in the later stage of novice. Generally, you can get your first Pokémon at the age of 16, because 16 is when your soul power reaches a certain level. You can attach to the Pokéball to establish a link with the Pokémon, get some of the energy from the Pokémon, and slowly accumulate to become extraordinary. Because Pokémon have extremely high IQs and their own pride, they generally will not listen to the words of trainers who do not match their strength. In addition, the government is afraid that children are mentally retarded or have other influences, so it has issued relevant regulations advocating that people can only get their initial Pokémon at the age of 16. The government also advocates it, but there are also special laws to manage Pokémon. For example, it is a serious crime to instruct Pokémon to attack humans in public, and the consequences of instructing Pokémon with certain special abilities to do illegal things are even more serious. Some families and noble families with the means will arrange a Pokémon for a child to get along with when he/she is still young. In this way, the relationship cultivated from childhood, although there is a gap in strength, the Pokémon will still listen to the orders of its trainer, but it will affect its combat ability. Therefore, people nowadays generally have their own Pokémon when they are 16 years old. But then the gap between the poor and the rich is reflected with unique secrets, unique training methods, famous teachers, sufficient resources, etc. It is very difficult for the poor to make a comeback, and school is one of the important platforms for the children of the poor to make a comeback. The classroom was quiet at this time. After the teacher looked at the boy who raised the unfairness, he slowly said, "Of course, the school has also considered this aspect, so when you feel confident, you can challenge those ordinary students. If you win, you will get their treatment. The school will also maintain a certain degree of fairness. When you go out into society, you will know that even a little fairness must be fought for by yourself. Strength is the most important," the middle-aged teacher said earnestly. Ring, ring, the bell for the end of get out of class rang. Okay, those 10 students go to class 5 and report. The rest of the students are free to do what they want. We are going to move books in the next class. The teacher left after saying that. Zhang Xingyun got up and went to the toilet. He didn't think much of what the teacher said. This is how the world is. Some people are born in Rome, and some people are cattle and horses. If you want to cross the class, you have to work hard. Even if the probability is a little lower, it is much better than complaining about injustice. Zhang Xingyun has this road of hard work. He believes that he can rely on himself to live the life he wants and get what he wants. Just after he sat down in the toilet, the bell rang again. When the second bell rang, the teacher came in again and asked a few students to move the books. After moving, the books were handed out, and the rest of the time was for reading. Zhang Xingyun took a brief history of China, modern history, and read it all morning. After school in the morning, he went to the cafeteria to eat alone. After dinner, he went to see Nidalang and the electric monster for a while, and then went back to the classroom to read. In the afternoon, the school arranged an opening ceremony in the playground. Li Yuning, the principal of number 9 middle school, was also present. After a few words of encouragement, he handed the ceremony over to the Dean of Studies and left his seat. The dean lived up to his title and spoke until 4:30 in the afternoon, before finishing his long and boring speech and announcing the end of school. Zhang Xingyun packed up his things, put his books in his school bag, and went to the school's breeding house to pick up Nidalang and Electabuzz. Nidalang and Electabuzz sat on the back of the motorcycle and kept calling Ni, Polly, and Polly on the way home. Zhang Xingyun, who mastered telepathy, knew what they meant. Even if he didn't master telepathy, he knew through the connection of the Pokeball that these two little ones had been complaining about how boring their day was and how they were not as happy as during training. Chapter 20 School Competition. On this day, Zhang Xingyun arrived at the classroom early. When everyone was present, he was taken to the school's playground by the middle-aged teacher. Today, the principal Li Yuning was also present, sitting on the rostrum in the playground, with several leaders sitting next to him. At this time of year, Changning number 9 middle school would hold a competition for the senior year of high school to assign classes. It's not that I can stay in class 20 after I go to class 20 this time. There will be assessments at the midterm and final exams. The assessment of Pokémon battles accounts for 70% of the score, and theoretical learning accounts for 30%. This is based on the model of the college entrance examination. The trainer's college entrance examination score is also based on 30% theory and 70% Pokémon battles, and then the scores are counted. The ordinary students in classes 1 to 8 are the same as the Blue Star College entrance examination candidates in the previous life, but the difference is that they have to learn some knowledge about Pokémons. There is no way Pokémons are closely related to human life, and they will learn a little bit. Just how much they learn. It's the same dean from yesterday. I heard that his surname is Huang, and he is called Director Huang. He has 3 elite early stage Pokémons, and is a regular elite early stage trainer. Although this guy talks a lot, has a strong desire to show off, and is a little bald, his ability is still good. Maybe because of the leaders on the stage, or because he was afraid that the competition time would not be enough. He only spoke for about 20 minutes, mainly talking about some precautions and rules of the competition. Zhang Xingyun was ready for his long speech, but this guy was a bit perceptive and got down to business. He is worthy of being a director. Yesterday he was a lot of bullshit in front of the students, but today he is a practical person in front of the leaders. Now, please invite Principal Liu to say a few words to the students. After Director Huang finished talking about the rules, he continued. There was a sound of applause, and Principal Zhang Xingyun stood up on the rostrum. Good morning, everyone. I also introduced the ceremony yesterday, so I won't say it here. Today is the day for our Changning number 9 middle school to compete. I hope that the students can show their true strength to get the treatment they deserve. The higher-ups also attach great importance to it, and sent several leaders to the scene for guidance. The person on my left is the Deputy Director of the Changning Municipal Education Bureau, Director NIU. Everyone warmly welcomes him. Clap, clap, clap. After Principal Liu Ning finished speaking, applause broke out. The Deputy Director of the Education Bureau also stood up and nodded. The man on my right is the captain of the second team of the Pokemon Center investigators, Captain Lee. Welcome him warmly. The applause broke out again. Captain Lee also stood up and nodded. The man in military uniform is Captain Wu of the Changning City Garrison. Welcome him. Captain Wu also stood up and saluted. The applause became even more enthusiastic. Okay, no more words. Now please go draw lots and have your battles. Principal Zhang Xingyun is a man of swift and decisive actions. He only said what needed to be said and directly announced the start of the competition. Zhang Xingyun stepped forward and drew a lot. It was number 66 in Area C excluding those who were engaged in breeding. There were 618 people studying to be trainers this year. Among the 618 people, 6 were of ordinary level, so there were 612 people who actually had to compete. Although Zhang Xingyun's strength, when he burst out with all his strength, was at ordinary level, he was usually at the peak of the late novice stage. Besides, it was not necessary. He was confident that he could enter class 20 with middle strength. The large playground was divided into 4 competition areas, A, B, C, D. After each competition, trainers and Pokémon would be given an hour to rest and heal. If the injury was too serious, it would still affect the final result. This was already taking into account that they were still students. If they were injured in the wild, would they have an hour to rest and heal? In some dangerous places, being injured meant a greatly increased chance of death. Moreover, you can't just play 1 or 2 games in the wild in a day. It depends on your luck. Some people are lucky and don't have to fight a single battle. I encountered a seriously injured precious Pokémon when I went out, and I captured it without danger. Then I encountered a treasure and put it in my pocket, and finally became a strong man. Some people encountered swarms of Beedrills. As soon as they appeared, they finally repelled them. Then they encountered a group of Rattata and got a little injured. They escaped successfully. Then they encountered Arbok and escaped successfully. When passing by the river, they encountered Gyarados. A destruction and death ray ended their lives. This is also the reason why many people don't take the path of trainers. If they don't take the path of trainers, they can rely on knowledge to do some safe jobs. In the wild, they have to sleep in the open air and face life-threatening situations. Sometimes they have to beware of Pokémon while guarding against their own kind. Therefore, the school's competition rules are relatively fair. After the game started, Zhang Xingyun sat in the preparation area and watched the game. One look at the Pokémon will give you a rough idea of the trainer's family background. Zhang Xingyun saw that in Area A girl threw a Pokéball and released a mid-novice Squirtle, while the boy opposite her released a mid-novice Armstrong with a bitter face. Both of them were mid-novices, so it depends on how the trainer cultivated them, or the Pokémon themselves. As soon as the referee said the game started, the 2 Pokémon began to fight. At the beginning, they fought back and forth. But after 10 minutes, Armstrong had a lot more injuries, while Squirtle was not injured. Squirtle is one of the 3 starters, and generally has good qualifications, and its defense is even more impressive. After another 5 minutes of fighting, Armstrong lost his ability to fight under the finishing blow of Squirtle's water gun. As expected by Zhang Xingyun, the girl won. In fact, it cannot be said that Armstrong will definitely lose to Squirtle. But there are other reasons. In Zhang Xingyun's opinion, Armstrong's trainer had problems at the beginning of this game. When he saw Squirtle appear, his mentality was unstable, and the subsequent operations were frequently wrong. Although the 3 starters have an advantage, they are not invincible. With the right command, wrist strength can also turn defeat into victory. Judging from the performance of these 2 people, they should have never been to the wild. The battle was intermittent and turn-based. Wild battles are not turn-based. In the early stage, the training is the eyes of the elves. The elves will complete the instructions issued. After he had the elves, the main training places were in the wild. How to defeat the opponent quickly, accurately, and ruthlessly was what he had to consider. Come on. Come on. At this time, many people in the audience suddenly cheered loudly. It was the battlefield in Area D. Zhang Xingyun looked over and saw an Eevee using Shadow Ball against the Vine Monster. A large cloud of smoke spread out with a bang, and Eevee flew out of the smoke and landed in a handsome way. Boo-eye boo-eye. After Eevee landed, he shouted a few times with some pride. Just now, it was a real show. In order to increase the hit rate of the Shadow Ball, it approached a bit. Unexpectedly, the Vine Monster was not stupid. It deliberately waited for it to get close and used paralysis powder. Fortunately, it only absorbed a little bit and recovered when the Vine Whip of the Vine Monster arrived. When the Vine Whip attacked, Eevee did not retreat but advanced, using the Vine Whip to jump up and approach the Vine Monster. The Vine Monster was not weak either. It immediately reacted and swung the Vine Whip. The Vine Whip danced along a certain trajectory and blocked the attack direction of Eevee. Seeing this, Eevee used its small size and agility to avoid the attack of the Vine Whip. When it was about to reach the front of the Vine Monster, it used the Shadow Clone to get close to the Vine Monster. The Vine Whip of the Vine Monster had not been retracted yet, and it only had time to use the Absorption Punch on one of them. With a sound of Kai, the figure disappeared, and Eevee appeared on the side of the Vine Monster and used the Shadow Ball, hitting the Vine Monster. With a puff of smoke, this round ended with Eevee's handsome landing. This moment happened in a very short time. The two Pokémons didn't have time to issue instructions for training before the wonderful battle ended. The audience was very excited. It was too good to be excited. The principals on the rostrum also nodded with a smile. Mr. Zhang, judging from this situation, your school has a lot of good seedlings this year. This is rare in the ordinary level. Captain Wu looked at the battle of Eevee and said with great approval. Ha ha ha, this is occasionally. Principal Zhang said this, but the smile on his face never stopped. As the principal, he was also proud of the emergence of talents in the school. He was also a face-saving person. When this batch of people rose up, he would take them to challenge the school. If the challenge was successful, he would feel even better. Changning No. 9 Middle School was established 4 years ago. The source of students was not very good. In the past, in the competitions at school, the results were not ideal, and he was ridiculed by other principals many times. So he was so happy when he saw the emergence of excellent trainers. He seemed to see his old opponent with a dark face. Thinking of this, he was even happier. Chapter 21, The Young Man. After the smoke around the Vine Monster dissipated, Eevee used the Awakening Power, which happened to be the Awakening Power of Fire attribute, to attack the Vine Monster. After a while, the Vine Monster lost its ability to fight and fell to the ground. Amid the cheers of the audience, Eevee raised his head and shouted "Boo-yee boo-yee," and received cheers from a large number of girls. At this time, Eevee turned into a red light and was taken back into the Pokeball by its owner, who was a young girl and a little beauty. After watching the battle, Zhang Xingyun also felt that it was very exciting. This kind of battle is very common in ordinary level battles, but it is very exciting when it happens between two Pokémons who are both in the late novice stage. In the beginning, Eevee's caution, the cunning of the Vine Monster, the reaction of the Vine Monster, Eevee's response, and the final ending can all be called exciting. After watching the Ibrahimovic match, Zhang Xingyun watched several more games. Unfortunately, there were not many who could play well. Most of them were ordinary and ordinary. They might have never set foot in the wild and played by rote. It seemed normal to those who had just come into contact with it, but it seemed a bit clumsy to Zhang Xingyun, who had been hunting in the wild for more than a month. It seemed that there were not many excellent trainings at present, but there should be many in the future. Please ask Kanye, C65, and Zhang Xingyun, C66, to come to the scene and prepare. The battle is about to begin. Please ask Kanye, C65, and Zhang Xingyun, C66, to come to the scene and prepare. The battle is about to begin. At this time, the school broadcast also broadcast Zhang Xingyun's game. Zhang Xingyun stood up and came to the stadium. The stadium was the same as the Pokémon world in his previous life. Both sides stood. As soon as the referee finished speaking, he heard Radha go, "This is a fool," Zhang Xingyun said in his heart. In addition to the rules, the first Pokémon to be sent out will be guarded by the enemy, and the Pokémon that restrains it will be sent out. At this time, his opponent actually sent out the first Pokémon, so he will not be polite. The Radha sent out by Kanye has good front teeth and fur color. It can be seen that he is very attentive to the training of Radha. Judging from the energy fluctuations of this Radha, it should have reached the late novice stage not long ago. And from the physical performance of this Radha, it has just evolved and has not yet adapted to the changes in its body. Kanye has been a little inflated recently. A few days ago, his initial Pokémon finally evolved, after he spent a lot of resources. After the evolution, it also reached the late novice stage. He competed with several novice friends and all ended in victory. This time his opponent is Zhang Xingyun, and he thinks this time is also stable. The Pokémon with the electric shock monster beside Zhang Xingyun is shaking, and through telepathy, it knows that it is asking for a fight. The electric shock monster is a warmonger. At this time, it observes Radha and feels that it does not need Big Brother Nidolang to take action, even if Radha is a Pokémon in the late novice stage. To be on the safe side, Zhang Xingyun still wanted to choose Nidolang to play, but the electric monster seemed to have sensed Zhang Xingyun's thoughts and shook more violently. Zhang Xingyun used the system to scan Radha. If the Radha's qualifications were too high, he would let Nidolang play. Name, Radha attributes, general qualifications, light yellow characteristics, escape strength, late novice skills, impact, digging holes, throwing sand, gathering energy, lightning flash, and fatal front teeth. After reading it, Zhang Xingyun let the electric monster play. If the electric monster loses, then wait until next time. In order not to dampen the electric monster's fighting enthusiasm, let it play. Polly the electric monster raised its strong arms and shouted as soon as it came on the court. After a little preparation, the referee shouted, "The game begins. Radha, use lightning flash, rush up." Some white light came out of Radha's body and it attacked the electric monster at a very fast speed. Glare. The electric monster glared, still looking a bit ferocious. After several battles in the wild, the electric monster had killed several Pokémons, and there was still some murderous intent in its eyes. Radha was frightened by the glare of the electric monster, and stopped not far from the electric monster. He was very scared. Since it hatched, it has never seen blood. The glare it encountered during the battle was not so fierce. It looked like it was going to kill it, and it became scared. Radha, cheer up, don't be scared. Think about the scenes of us fighting together. Don't give up. Go for it. Perhaps the encouragement of the trainer worked. Radha shook his head, cheered up again, and used the lightning flash again. But this time, the lightning flash was used not far from the electric monster, and the power could not be charged as much as last time. Electric monster, prepare to split the tiles. The moment Radha set off, Zhang Xingyun gave the order. Polly a layer of fighting energy filled the hands of the electric monster with white light, and it used the tile splitting skill in the direction of Raticat's attack. Raticat was struck and flew away, screaming, and flew back in the direction it came from. Electric monster, discharge. Polyelectric arcs were running through the body of the electric monster, releasing a yellow arc, attacking Raticat. Zhang Xingyun would not miss this good opportunity, and asked its trainer to cheer it up and make a counter-attack. The villain died because of talking too much. Zhang Xingyun is now the villain to Kanye and Raticat. Although the elves are not very idealistic, the encouragement of the trainer still has a lot of effect. Raticat was hit by the discharge ability of the electric monster again, and screamed again, suffering more serious injuries, but it has not lost its combat ability. Radha, cheer up, use digging holes first and hide. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After hearing the order from his own trainer, Raticat endured the pain in his body and quickly dug a hole and hid in it. This reaction is not bad. Zhang Xingyun nodded and agreed. Radha uses the energy collection. Electric monster, watch your feet. Use the lightning fist if there is any movement. Polly. The stalemate continued. After 5 minutes, Kyan Yi could no longer sit still. His rudder was injured. If he dragged it on, he would definitely lose. He could still try now, but he couldn't do it later. The electric monster was only in the middle stage of the novice. Kyan Yi thought that, if he hadn't been a little arrogant at the beginning, the situation would not be so passive. Now he could only hope that Rada could defeat the electric monster after gathering energy. There was a sound of loose soil on the left side of the electric monster. The electric monster knew it was moving. At this time, it also heard Zhang Xingyun's order in its heart. Use the lightning fist. Rada, use the most powerful killing front teeth. With a bang, Rada broke out of the ground and used the killing front teeth to attack the electric monster. The killing front teeth, after gathering energy, looked quite powerful. The 5 fingers of the electric monster clenched into a fist, and there was an arc of electricity on the fist. This was the lightning fist of the electric skill. The two collided, making a roar, but Ladder was directly knocked out and lay on the ground with circles in his eyes, and he lost his ability to fight. Ladder lost his ability to fight. This game is won by Zhang Xingyun. At this time, the stadium was also in jubilation, and the students watching shouted, "The electric monster is so handsome and the electric monster is awesome." The electric monster didn't know how to be humble, waving his fist at the audience and responding "Polly Polly." The people on the rostrum noticed the battle between Zhang Xingyun and Kyan Yi. Although Kyan Yi made a mistake at the beginning, he also launched a counter-attack in the end, which they still agreed with. Hahaha, Principal Zhang, the training of the electric monster is also very good. The electric monster didn't show any tension at all. The rhythm of the battle was controlled from the beginning. The trainer of Ladder didn't lose unfairly. Deputy Director NIU on the left-hand side of Principal Li exclaimed. With their eyes, they could naturally see the tricks here. Hahaha, that kid still needs to be tempered. Principal Li said with a smile. On the field, Zhang Xingyun shook hands with Kyan Yi and walked off the field. Zhang Xingyun walked to the beverage vending machine, bought 3 bottles of beverages, released the electric monster and Nidoro, and drank some water. After drinking the water, he went to sit in the audience. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, The Secondary Electric Monster. After watching for a while, I went to have lunch. It started again at 2 PM, and another match was arranged in the afternoon. The opponent was around Silk Spider, whose combat performance was even worse than Kyan Yi's, and was easily defeated by the electric monster. The cheers of the audience made it very proud. It waved its arms with its chest puffed out, and shouted "Polly Polly." When it was 6 o'clock, the school stopped the competition, and asked the students to go back first, but those who lived in the dormitory had to go to evening self-study. Zhang Xingyun did not live in the dormitory, so he drove the motorcycle out of the parking lot, and Nidalong and Electric Monster came out of the Pokeball by themselves. These two were not big in size, so the traffic police would not care on the road, but if it was Nidoking or Electric Monster, they would be stopped by the traffic police. The two little ones sat on the back of Zhang Xingyun's motorcycle, chattering all the time. Zhang Xingyun also knew what they were talking about, mainly the Electric Monster. Look how good I'm today. I punched a late stage ladder and kicked a mid-stage garden Silk Spider. Yeah, I did a good job today. That's right. Thank you for your help, big brother. You're welcome. We are all trying to win honor for our boss. You should train well and don't get too cocky. Okay. Zhang Xingyun looked at his 2 Pokémons with a smile on his face. After returning home, he had a meal and started exercising after digesting it. I didn't exercise today, so I did some simple exercises in the evening instead. The electric monster connected to the electric machine to feel the energy of electricity. Nidoran wore a weighted vest and hung with poisonous fragments to exercise his physical fitness. Zhang Xingyun was studying the cultivation book given to him by his big brother in the study. Although there were annotations, he had not experienced it himself after all, so he had to find a lot of literature to learn. The status of a cultivator is not low in society. Even the king of the sky has to lower himself to make friends with a superb cultivator. After studying and experimenting for this period of time, he has sorted out the data of 2 energy cubes. When he has the opportunity, he will rent a cube machine to try to make them. After Zhang Xingyun stopped studying and walked out of the study, he saw the electric monster watching an elf martial arts drama, shouting excitedly while watching. Elf TV series are also a specialty of this world. Since the elves came, Zhang Xingyun is not surprised to see the emergence of elf TV series. The electric monster is watching the birth of the Thunder King at this time, which mainly tells the story of an electric monster overcoming many difficulties and finally becoming a champion electric monster. At the beginning of the plot, the electric monster was divorced by his fiancée because of the excessive energy load in his body and his strength had not improved for a long time. Later, with the help of the residual soul of the thunder cloud attached to the jade pendant, he kicked the villain, the pretty boy Aqiu, and punched the big boss in the play, Dragonite. Under the regretful eyes of his fiancée, he became the Thunder King and lived a happy life with a group of confidants. When Zhang Xingyun saw the end of the plot, the corners of his mouth twitched, and he felt a little weird in his heart. This damn familiar taste, familiar formula. The elves of this year also have grandfathers. Looking at the excited electric monster, Zhang Xingyun walked up, patted the electric monster on the shoulder, and said earnestly, "Good boy, you are still young, you can't grasp this kind of thing. Train well. Polly the electric monster on TV can succeed. There is no reason why I can't. Well, the one on TV is the protagonist. Be good and improve your strength honestly. Polly the electric monster on TV is the protagonist. Am I not my protagonist?" Yes, everyone is his own protagonist. Thinking of Zhang Xingyun fell silent. Polly? Don't be angry with that boss. I'm not a middle school student. I will definitely train well. Electric monster, I'm not angry. I just feel a little emotional. One day you will become the electric monster on TV. I promise. Okay, you continue watching TV. The best training method is to combine work and rest. Nidalang, who was training on the treadmill nearby, heard the noise and came over, asking what happened. It's okay, Nidalang. You can take a break, watch some TV shows or something. You don't have to train all the time. And I just take a break. Don't stay up late or anything. There are things to do tomorrow. Polly and Zhang Xingyun returned to the bedroom and sat cross-legged on the bed. To become the protagonist, strength is a standard. Hard training and opportunity are indispensable. Time passed in training, and soon it was the next morning. Zhang Xingyun got up very early and woke up Nidalang and Electric Monster, but Electric Monster was still lying in bed. Seeing that there was still plenty of time, he let it sleep for a while. After washing up, he cooked something on a low fire. He called Electric Monster up, and this time it didn't continue to lie in bed. After asking Electric Monster to wash up by himself, he went out to exercise. After returning from exercise, he had breakfast. After breakfast, Zhang Xingyun came to the motorcycle with 2 Pokémons behind the car. They didn't like staying in the Pokéball very much, so they sat on the back of the motorcycle and kept chatting. Zhang Xingyun would also say a few words. The only one that the Electabuzz said was a little frivolous. Polly big brother, Nidoran, look at that elegant cat lady, she's very elegant. Polly boss, did you see that trainer wearing a combat uniform? She's very handsome. Boss, you should also get one. It will definitely be handsome. Polly big brother, look, that Nidoran chick is pretty good. She gets along well with you, big brother, and I little brother. Be serious. Nidoran seemed very mature in this regard, unlike the Electabuzz who was so childish and said whatever he saw along the way. Alright, Electabuzz, keep talking about these nonsense. Do you want a partner? I'll go find a lady with a strong body to be your partner. A female strong body appeared in the Electabuzz boy's mind, and he shook his head frantically. Polly haha, what do you think of today's battle, boss? The Electabuzz became serious, and Zhang Xingyun stopped teasing it. After yesterday's elimination, today's opponent should be very strong. I'll see how the situation is with the electric monster. You're still young, so maybe let Nidalang come. Polly okay, I'll follow the arrangement, and I will definitely win. Haha, of course I believe in you. After all, our training is not without effect. Under normal circumstances, Zhang Xingyun is confident that he can win, even if he doesn't use the spirit attachment technique. But in continuous combat, it will be troublesome if he gets injured. Small ones are okay, but big ones are tricky. Although there are novices in the school, there must be masters. Zhang Xingyun knows that there are people who are better than you. Although he is confident, he still has to be careful. See if I can meet a rookie today. Send out the elves first. If you are not strong, I will use the electric monster on you. If you are strong, let Nidalang go on the field. Polly and I, after arriving at the school, he parked the motorcycle and rushed to the school playground. He drew a lot, C12, and waited for the game. Chapter 23 Winning Streak. Zhang Xingyun waited for a while before it was his turn. This time, he was fighting against a cute girl. The elf she used was the cute Siddiq. But within 10 minutes, this late stage novice Siddiq was defeated by Nidalang. Zhang Xingyun awkwardly shook hands with the little girl with red eyes and then quickly retreated. Women were too troublesome for him, especially girls who were about to cry. Zhang Xingyun went to a temporarily vacant room, which was mainly used for elves injured in the competition. There were also a group of medical staff transferred from the elf hospital. Zhang Xingyun went up to ask for a bed, declined the help of a medical staff, and applied medicine to Nidalang himself. The medical staff looked at Nidalang's injuries and did not insist. They left some medicine and went out. Zhang Xingyun can now be said to be a quasi-breeder, and he still knows how to treat minor injuries. He took out the medicine he brought and applied it to Nidalang. In the previous battle, the Siddiq had a good super talent. It used telekinesis plus water gun to injure Nidalang, although it was a minor injury. Zhang Xingyun thought that if she met another late stage novice, maybe she could win. After applying the medicine, she took back the Pokeball to heal her wounds and put it in the Pokeball like the electric monster and pinned it to her belt. These days, there are competitions, so the Pokemon can be released. Zhang Xingyun was afraid that the electric monster would be active and cause trouble, so she put it in the Pokeball. The electric monster was also very obedient and did not get upset. Zhang Xingyun sat in the audience again, followed her gaze, and looked towards Area A, and saw a mid-stage novice Dodo fighting against a late-stage novice Danka. Under the command of its trainer, the mid-stage novice Dodo used the kite tactic to make Danka very embarrassed. When Danka used a rolling attack, Dodo ran faster, attacking Danka with the awakening power while running, interrupting Danka's rolling. When Danka stopped, it used trash talk to anger Danka and ran when Danka attacked. The Danka could only passively take the beating and was finally kitted by Dodo, lying on the ground unwillingly. Sure enough, there are weak people in the school, but there are also strong people. It is not surprising that there are several excellent trainers among so many people. If they are all mediocre, this school is also finished. The next games were not interesting. At 11 o'clock, Zhang Xingyun was arranged again. The opponent was a mushroom in the middle stage of the novice. This elf defeated the enemy with the powder tactics, but this time he encountered Zhang Xingyun's electric monster. In less than 5 minutes, he was hit by a tile-breaking attack from the electric monster and lost his combat ability. The fact that the novice can reach this step in the middle stage has proved that the training of this mushroom is a competent trainer. With the advantages of the novice in the middle stage and the reasonable use of mushrooms, he has come here. Here, the advantages of mushrooms in his eyes were immediately targeted after Zhang Xingyun used the system scan. Even if Zhang Xingyun did not use the system scan, he could develop a targeted attack method after a few rounds. After the two shook hands, Zhang Xingyun went to the medical room to help the electric monster remove the powder on his body. After cleaning up, I went to the cafeteria to eat. I bought a portion of food and a few prepared cubes for them to eat. These days, you can bring your Pokemon to eat in the cafeteria. Except for the school team, you can only feed them in the school's breeding house. After lunch, I took a break and sat in the audience to continue watching the game. Time passed quickly in the fierce battles between the trainers, and it was time to go home again. Zhang Xingyun also played a few times this afternoon. There will be 40 people left tomorrow. If Zhang Xingyun wins another game, he can enter class 20. But Zhang Xingyun doesn't want to enter with the last performance. He wants to enter class 20 with the performance of the top row. In this way, the school can invest more resources in him. Entering class 20 does not mean that there is no competition, but the competition is even greater. Zhang Xingyun rode a motorcycle with two Pokémon again. During the conversation between the two Pokémon, he returned home. In the following time, as usual, after arranging the training of the two Pokémon, Zhang Xingyun went into the study to study. After entering the study, he took out Nidalang's cultivation secret book, observed it, and drew on the notebook, considering Nidalang's recent state, and formulated a cultivation plan and diet. It was already 9 o'clock in the evening when he finished. When he walked out of the study, he saw the electric monster holding the remote control and turning on the TV. Zhang Xingyun had an agreement with the electric monster that at home, after completing the training, he could do what he liked. Now that its training volume has been completed, he will watch TV. Although the electric monster is a little naughty, it is his nature. Zhang Xingyun can also tolerate and understand it. The electric monster is also very sensible. He completes the task with quality and quantity before resting. As for Nidalang, he is more conscious. After drinking a glass of water, Zhang Xingyun walked into the study again. This time he wanted to formulate a recent cultivation plan for the electric monster. The door of the study opened, and Nidalang walked in, lying on the mat beside him to accompany him. After Zhang Xingyun touched Nidalang's head, he continued to work on it. Zhang Xingyun found that in the past few days, Nidalang sometimes had arcs coming out of his body. Maybe he is going to master new skills. Zhang Xingyun referred to the cultivation secrets of the electric monster given by his brother, and combined with relevant books and Zhang Xingyun's own understanding, he made a cultivation plan in his notebook. When it was done, it was already 11 o'clock. He greeted Nidalang, walked out of the living room, sat in the living room for a while, watched TV with the electric monster, and then went to wash and prepare for bed. After everything was done, the two little ones slept beside Zhang Xingyun, and he practiced. The next day, when Zhang Xingyun woke up, he charged the system with energy like the previous few days. When he charged energy for the first time, he found that the system could absorb the energy he cultivated, but the conversion was a little less. Like he practiced all night, let the system absorb half, and only charge 10 energy points. This is when his supernatural power has improved a lot. After absorbing, Zhang Xingyun can restore his energy through cultivation, rest and eating that day. Everything is moving in a good direction, and the strength will be like a snowball, rolling bigger and bigger. After finishing things, Zhang Xingyun drove the motorcycle again, carrying the two little ones to school. If nothing unexpected happens today, it will be the final day. For safety reasons, the chances of the Zapper appearing are slim. In yesterday afternoon's game, the Zapper did not appear. Trainers who have reached that stage have more or less unique features. After parking the car, I rushed to the stadium. Compared with the previous 2 days, there were more people in the stadium today, and the seats in the audience were full. The Pokémon battle is very popular, and nearby residents have come to watch. There is also a news team from Changning City to report here. The stadium is more lively, which also means that the competition is more intense. Chapter 24 Final 1. The first match was 40-20. If they won this match, they would enter class 20 and enjoy excellent treatment. They would definitely try their best in the matches they encountered, and it might be very tragic. Zhang Xingyun went up to draw lots, and was drawn to be the third to appear. He knew his opponent through the big screen on the battlefield. Zhao Xiaofeng. Zhang Xingyun had seen his game. The Pokémon used was Swimming Ring Weasel, also called Forktail Floating Weasel, a Pokémon that appeared in the Sinnoh region in the anime, and the energy fluctuations on its body were almost close to the normal level. From the look in Swimming Ring Weasel's eyes and the color of its fur, it can be seen that this is a Pokémon that has only been trained in the wild. It's probably going to be another fierce battle. Zhang Xingyun thought to himself, and scanned it with the system. Name, Swimming Ring Weasel. Attribute, Water. Qualification, Dark Yellow. Characteristics, Free and Easy. Strength, Late Novice. Skills, Howl, Sonic Boom, Water Gun, Chase, Spray. Water Column, Flash of Lightning, Shadow Clone. On the field, the sound of skills colliding, the sound of trainers' commands, and the unwillingness of Pokémons lingered in the ears. As the Pokémon fell, the audience cheered again, cheering for the Pokémon who won, and cheering for the Pokémon who failed. After trying their best, soon it was time for Zhang Xingyun to go on stage. He stood up and walked to the battlefield. The two trainers nodded to each other and threw Pokéballs to summon Pokémons under the referee's announcement. Swim, it's your turn Nidalang. It's you float float Ninny. The eyes of the two Pokémons on the field were full of fighting spirit, and the faces of the trainers were also solemn. Swim, use water guns. Zhao Xiaofeng gave the order preemptively. Nidalang, attack with poisonous mud bombs. Both of them understood that this was just a test of each other. Puff, after the two skills collided, it was Nidalang's poisonous mud bomb that prevailed, and the remaining 2 or 3 groups of poisonous mud bombs attacked Swim. Sonic Boom Float Swim's tail emitted a moon-shaped white energy move, blocking the attacking poisonous mud bomb. It seems that I underestimated you. Next, I will fight you seriously. Me too. Zhang Xingyun responded. Swimming Weasel, use Lightning Flash to get close to Nidalang, and then use Chase and attack. Float white light appeared on Swimming Weasel's body, and it quickly left the place and rushed towards Nidalang. Nidalang predicted the position. Use the Chinese-shaped poison needle to block. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Nidalang shot out poison needles. After practicing for several months, the power of the poison needle skill has been greatly improved. The purple cold light flashing on the needles can show that the power is not small. The first wave of poison needles was a little slow, but Nidalang adjusted and shot out the second wave of poison needles, intercepting it in front of Swimming Weasel, and then shot out the third wave of poison needles to attack Swimming Weasel. Swimming Weasel's combat awareness is also good. Seeing that the situation is hopeless, he hurriedly retreated, but was attacked by 2 poison needles that attacked quickly. When Swimming Weasel retreated, Zhang Xingyun asked Nidalang to use gathering energy to strengthen himself. In this round, the Swimming Ring Weasel didn't gain any advantage and was slightly injured. The key was that it was attacked by poison needles. The poison attack will gradually increase in power over time. The Swimming Ring Weasel didn't have any purification or healing skills, so it could only fight quickly. It would be disadvantageous to Zhao Xiaofeng if it dragged it on. Swimming Ring Weasel, Lightning Flash plus Shadow Clone approach it. The Swimming Ring Weasel rushed towards Nidoran again and used Shadow Clone halfway. The 4 Shadow Clones also rushed towards Nidoran with inertia and did not dissipate. It can be seen that this Swimming Ring Weasel has a deep attainment in the skill of Shadow Clone. Zhang Xingyun has supernatural powers. Being able to sense life energy is a basic skill. With a little sensing, he can know where the real body of the Swimming Ring Weasel is. Nidoran, at 9 o'clock, Poison Mud Bomb. Whoosh, 6 or 7 groups of poison mud bombs rushed down the real body of the Swimming Ring Weasel. Zhao Xiaofeng was also shocked that Zhang Xingyun could identify the real body of the Swimming Ring Weasel, but he was not thinking about this problem at the moment, and quickly gave instructions to the Swimming Ring Weasel. Swimming Weasel, use all your strength to spray water, charge, float, float, float. A lot of water gushed out from around the body of the Swimming Weasel, and it was swept by the Swimming Weasel and rushed towards Nidalang. Nidalang, dig a hole, get up when you are 10 meters away, and use the poison mud bomb. Nidalang hid in the hole he had dug before the Swimming Weasel's attack arrived. Float. The Swimming Weasel couldn't attack Nidalang and rushed in the direction of the attack. After rushing out for a distance, it stopped, but at this time the poison mud bomb also arrived. The Swimming Weasel only had time to send out a sonic boom to intercept it, and was attacked by the poison mud bomb. The poison mud bomb hit the Swimming Weasel and spread into a large black mist. The Swimming Weasel screamed and flew out of the black mist. The Swimming Weasel's face was a little purple and black at this time, and it was poisoned. But it still insisted on standing up, shouting float, float, as if encouraging it not to give up training. It can still fight for him. Nidalang, prepare the poison needle. Forget it. We lost this time. There is no need to continue. If you continue, you will be hurt even more. I don't want you to do this meaningless thing. Float, float. The Swimming Ring is still holding on. It is still trying to win honor for its trainer, even though it is seriously injured. Seeing that the Swimming Ring is still holding on, Nidalang launched an attack. The swimming ring also used a flash of lightning to dodge, but was hit by the poison needle and collapsed on the ground. Zhang Xingyun admired the behavior of the swimming ring, but he would not stop attacking because of this. He also has a partner, and his partner is like it, wanting to win honor for his training. I give up. Zhao Xiaofeng went up and helped the swimming ring up, with some tears in his eyes, and muttered, "You are so stupid." Float. The swimming ring was not in good condition at this time, but still laughed and shouted. Zhao Xiaofeng fed some things to the swimming ring and put them into the Pokeball. He stood up and shook hands with Zhang Xingyun. The stadium was full of applause, applauding this wonderful battle. "It's my honor to fight you. I hope I can fight you again next time," Zhao Xiaofeng said to Zhang Xingyun with a smile. "Welcome," Zhang Xingyun responded. The two chatted for a few more words and walked off the field amid the applause of the audience. After walking off the field, he went to sit with the players and thought about the details of the battle just now. In this battle, it seems very easy, but it is actually a coincidence. The main training of the swimming ring weasel should be on the water jet, and the melee ability is strong. Zhang Xingyun's training of Nidalang is on long range attack, with poison needles and poison mud bombs as the core for long range attack. Zhang Xingyun and Nidalang have put a lot of energy into these two skills. There are the zigzag poison needles that can be blocked, and the poison mud bombs with considerable damage, which can completely suppress the swimming ring weasel with slightly stronger melee ability. It can't be said that this swimming ring weasel is not strong. If the poison needles cannot be blocked, and the poison mud bombs are not powerful enough, Nidalang will fail. This battle also consumed a lot of Zhang Xingyun's energy. Now he was resting and feeding cubes to Nidalang. "Nidalang, we must work hard. This time it was just luck plus coincidence. Don't be proud. We will definitely encounter a tough battle later. Although this tough battle was not as difficult as imagined, we still can't take it lightly." Nidalang stopped eating and responded. "Compared to my peers, I'm not much worse," Zhang Xingyun muttered as he watched the battle on the field. Chapter 25 Final 2. After entering the top 20, Zhang Xingyun felt a lot more relaxed, but he didn't want to give up and wanted to compete with trainers of the same generation. After Nidoran was born, he didn't fight with novice trainers much. The first fight was with the thief's pickpocket cat. In the arena, some ended quickly and some ended slowly, but there are relevant regulations. If the battle between the two sides lasts for more than an hour during the novice period and there is no fierce battle, the strength can be measured by a third party. This is to prevent the two new Pokémon from fighting each other and wasting meaningless time. That is to say, a game lasts at least more than an hour. Soon it was Zhang Xingyun's turn to play again. This time it was a match from 20 to 10. On the rostrum, seeing Zhang Xingyun on the stage, several bigwigs started chatting. That trainer doesn't look arrogant or impatient, and his actions are quite methodical. Could he be a direct trainer from a family in Changning City? Old Liu, do you know? Deputy Director Liu said on the stage. The child is indeed a talented person, but you are wrong, Director Liu. The child is not from the family. He is from Qingshu Town. Could it be? That's right, the disaster-stricken Qingshu Town. The child did not become depressed after the disaster, but embarked on the path of a trainer. He is what he is today. With his own efforts and talent, he is no worse than the children of the family. Principal Liu replied. He had read Zhang Xingyun's file and knew these things, so he was more optimistic about Zhang Xingyun. It's already very good for a child from a poor family to get to this point. Captain Wu on the side also sighed. He was also from a poor family and knew the difficulty of the children from poor families to rise. At this time, the applause was thunderous, and the whole audience was somewhat jubilant. Zhang Xingyun defeated his opponent Talubi at the cost of Nidalang suffering a minor injury. After shaking hands in a friendly manner, the two walked off the field. After treating the burns on Nidalang, it was already noon, so they went to the cafeteria to have lunch. After lunch, they rested for a while in the rest area, and then the game began. During the competition, Zhang Xingyun found 4 tough opponents. A trainer with Ghastly, named G Crossing, defeated his opponents with mysterious means, and was a strong contender for the first place. One trainer with Beedrill should not be underestimated. The trainer was Zhang Xingyun, who had extraordinary strength in the cold spear, and the attack of missile needle plus poison needle was also quite powerful. Another one was a Kokadora, whose trainer was Chengming. With the defense of his body and the sharp stone attack, his performance was also extraordinary. The last one was a girl with slowpoke, named He Jingwen, whose regenerative power could restore the state, and he could drag down the opponent. These four were the most powerful in Zhang Xingyun's eyes, but he would not retreat because of this, but was full of fighting spirit. He went on the court again, and this time he quickly defeated his opponent and successfully advanced. During the battle, Chengming's Kokadora was ended by a trainer with a duckbill baby. Standing at the end of the battle, the 5 people went to the arena to draw lots, and Zhang Xingyun drew the empty lot. The strength of the Pokémons today is not much different, and fighting consumes a lot of energy. Zhang Xingyun was lucky to lose, but luck is also a part of strength. The 4 people just envy, and don't say anything. The result of the draw is, Yi Crossing vs He Jingwen, Tanging vs Gaoyuan. Tanging is the trainer of the duckbill. After a fierce battle and a wonderful game, Yi Crossing and Gaoyuan won. Zhang Xingyun was surprised by Yi Crossing's victory. He thought it would be Slowpoke that won, but he didn't expect it to be Ghastly. His guess was wrong, which just shows how powerful Ghastly was. It ended the end of the Slowpoke with super endurance, although Ghastly was also injured. Beedrill also defeated Duckbill against its attributes. Students who have reached this stage are all ruthless. Now there are only 3 of them left, Zhang Xingyun, Yi Crossing, and Gaoyuan. The audience was also looking forward to guessing who would be the final winner, and the 3 had their own opinions. Ghastly's elusive attacks, Beedrill's double gun plus missile needle show, Nidoran's predicted shaped poison needle, and the combination of long-range poison mud bombs are also powerful. The 3 people came on stage to draw lots. This time it was Zhang Xingyun vs. Gaoyuan, and Yi Crossing missed. At this time, Principal Liu stood up and said in his deep voice, in order to allow these 3 students to have the best performance in the battle, fight in the best state, and it is still early, I will make a temporary decision now. Let the 3 of them rest for an hour. Please be patient and wait for their wonderful performances. After Principal Liu finished speaking, the audience applauded. They also felt that what Principal Liu said made sense. Although it was illegal in large-scale competitions, it was not a big problem in the school's competition. They were looking forward to waiting for the performance of the 3 players. Zhang Xingyun was also happy. In this hour, maybe Nidoran could master that skill. Zhang Xingyun took Nidoran in and walked into an empty room. The staff didn't care. They also understood that a quiet and deserted environment was needed to arrange tactics before the game. In the room, Zhang Xingyun used all the points in the system to exchange for a current sensor. Release Nidoran and the electric monster. Install the wire on the machine on Nidoran. Let the electric monster eat an energy block and ask the electric monster to charge the machine at a certain frequency. The reason why Zhang Xingyun did this within an hour was because he found that when Nidoran and the electric monster were together in the past 2 days, there would be some electricity on his body. Combined with Nidoran's ability to use electric tricks, he made this attempt. He also suddenly thought of it when facing the giant bee on the plateau. Half an hour later, looking at the arc of electricity on Nidoran, Zhang Xingyun knew it was successful. In this way, he had one more trick to deal with the giant bee. With Nidoran's talent and qualifications, it was only a matter of time before he mastered this skill. He just used external force to advance it. He put the current sensor back into the system space, used his power to bless Nidoran, and let Nidoran try a few more times to improve his proficiency. Soon the time was up. Zhang Xingyun and Zhang Xingyun walked onto the field and released the elves under the referee's command. His name, Beedrill, male, attributes, insect, poison qualification, light green characteristics, sniper strength, late novice skills, spitting silk, gathering energy, random attack, poison needle, missile needle, high speed movement, dual guns, shadow clone. There are many Beedrills in the wild, and Zhang Xingyun has defeated many before, but it can't be compared with the Beedrill in front of him. This Beedrill is very good, both in terms of skills and qualifications. It is the best choice. Zhang Xingyun must have paid a lot to get this Beedrill. The injury on the Beedrill has improved a lot, and the mental state has improved. Not only Zhang Xingyun has made a profit in this hour, but Beedrill and Ghastly must have also made a lot of profit. Poison Needle x2 bang. Both are expert in poison needles, both have bonuses from this system, and the power is about the same. In Nidoran's attack, only one remaining poison needle attacked, which was easily dispersed by Beedrill. The two looked at each other with solemn expressions. The Pokémons on both sides also felt the mood of their own training, and were also in a stalemate. The battle was about to break out. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.